This is going over just great, man. We over here having a podcast, but it's just two people in a pod. So, are we just dual peas in a pod? Is that what we are tonight?
I guess.
Sheesh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for the kind of empty room of a podcast we got going on tonight. Normally, we try to start it with at least three individuals, but we have no idea where the other members of the podcast are right now, which is so funny because out of all the people who've been saying, yo, let's get this podcast jumping, it's only Danny that shows up. So shout out to my man Danny here for being consistent. What's up, player? How you doing?
I've been better. I every year in this house we have at least one person who's sick with some kind of sore throat on Christmas, and I have a bad feeling that this is my year. So,
oh boy, well, you still gonna be able to do this podcast though?
oh yeah. I mean, it's a good thing we're doing it tonight because tomorrow I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. But hey.
Facts. Speaking of tonight going into tomorrow, first on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish all y'all out there a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope y'all get a kick out of it. Spend time with your loved ones, do what you got to do. And of course, make sure to rate this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud. Give us 5 stars across the board. Now I'm just playing. We just appreciate.
I was about to say, if you got us up all them places, I want my cut, man.
I know, right? I mean, as far as distribution deals go, we'll work it out behind the scenes later. I got you, fam. I got you. But yeah, here we are, man. I'm just trying to bide time before I get into the real sappy year-end stuff. Oh, I just got an update from Rob. He says, "Oh wow, he just realized we're going live." He's like, "What?" Oh boy. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, let's look at some of the stuff in the comments real quick. Hello to all the viewers. What's up? Whoa, this is awkward. We got 2 people under the name JD. We got the amazing JD. That's Jason, and then we have legendary JD. So it's a battle to the end. Who you got in this matchup, Danny?
Well, I think it's a matter of who unlocks Ultra Instinct first.
Ah, that is true. That's true. So y'all will settle that amongst yourselves. What's up, Aaron? How you doing, bro? Howdy, Maxwell, to you too. Davey123 Gaming. What's poppin', playa? What's good, Psycho? Nice seeing some familiar faces and some new faces here too. Got Zal Takara. Hope I didn't butcher your name right there. And I am, of course, just trying to make witty banter before we get into the podcast, because I always have this fear that whenever we start the podcast, that's when everyone's going to jump in. It's like, oh, God, dang it, guys. Again. We talked about this. Oh, what's good, EXA Production? How you doing, fam? Yeah, it's definitely been a long time, bro. Definitely. But what were you saying, my man, Danny?
Oh, nothing. I find it funny, though, that I'm always the one who seems to come in last, and that's because I got to deal with all this other stuff. I got to get kids put to bed. I got to pick up. I got to do all this stuff. I got to get my drink ready. I got to get my everything ready. I'm like the last one in this call, and yet here I am, the only one for a little while, and then the only one here when we go live.
Yeah, you see, we appreciate you and all your strong black woman glory, Danny. Shout out to you, bro. One man by himself, no podcast host necessary. Awaiting the Last Jedi and Justice League drag sessions. Can't wait for the Justice League slander. Dang, y'all are, you know what we came here for.
Well, I was gonna say I'm like a slightly blacker Tyler Perry.
Oh shit! So, oh, is that who I think it is?
Hey, there he is.
What's going down, man?
What's up, player? How you doing?
Man, I'm all good, bro. I'm so sorry that Horizon killed a lot of my time.
You dabbling in the world of Horizon? Okay, all your sins are forgiven.
Man, like it was literally it was somewhat sunny when I started playing. Then you started saying where y'all live. I was, nah, it ain't time. Oh, it is time.
That's how you know you got a good game right there, bro.
I mean,
and I still have gotten no further in the story. I've done like 6 side missions.
Yo,
man,
Horizon's that game, bro.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't want to spend time with Aloy?
Yo, facts. Okay, first off, shout out to the genuine female protagonist in gaming, like actual female protagonists who ain't defined by what's between their legs. Anyways,
Hey,
ladies and
for real.
gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we have assembled the holy trinity of the NXP podcast, the real OGs. Well, most of the OGs. One of them we still can't track down to this day. Some people have been asking about him, but we've got the OGs up in the house. We got Danny D's World. We got Rots 112. Gentlemen, first off, happy holidays to y'all. Hope y'all had a good year. It's always great hanging with you guys. And here we are again at the year-end special, recorded on the exact same day as we did it last year. So that continuity right there.
Serious?
I'm not even joking, bro.
I could have swore we did it like December 30th or 31st last year.
No, we did it on Christmas Eve,
Wow.
2016.
Yeah, we almost kept our word on doing regular podcasts too.
We did. We got pretty far. We got like what, 3-4 months in.
We did until we. Yeah, we hit that mid-season finale.
Mid-season finale. We were renewed, but we didn't finish the episodes. Think of it like James Cameron Avatar. We're just kind of coasting by. We'll work on it eventually. But we went like all the way up until the end of April consistently. I'm looking at this and that's pretty good. Oh, here it is right here. NXP podcast year-end special. Doctor Strange # We Was Right Q&A December 24th. 11:43 p.m. Wow.
Bruh, that's crazy, man.
Bruh.
It was just destined to be, I guess, man.
Hell yeah. So, gentlemen, here we are at the end of another year. I gotta say, this is definitely one of the best years in gaming, one of the best years in movies. But we're not here to talk about strictly gaming. We can probably discuss that in the Q&A. We got some movies to discuss. We got to start out with this one. This movie right here.
Are we about to go there already, man?
We got it. We got to come with the smoke, man. We talk about all this good stuff. We put in our title. Rob, my man, I'm going to let you do the honors of opening this up for us.
All right, so we about to talk about the single most hyped movie of this year. The single most hyped movie of this year. The well-renowned sequel to the greatness of BVS. We got to talk about the Justice League, aka We'll Talk Too.
Oh snap! Is that the hashtag?
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do with these DCU movies. I'm gonna just start calling them "We'll Talk" insert numerical sequels. So yeah, I'm sure you guys. This is probably what they want us to talk about in the first place. Like they probably been waiting for us to drop this ether on it. But yeah, the Justice League, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really know how to get this ball rolling yet. Who wants to throw the first stone? Yo, what the freak?
I will. I told you so. I freaking told y'all so. I knew they weren't gonna get their act together. I told y'all once they were down this road.
Here we go.
From there. I knew. I told y'all this was a mess continuity. I knew they were going to retcon things from Wonder Woman after Wonder Woman retcon things from BBS. I told people they were going to do that. Everyone said, "Nah, I think they're finally getting it together."
Oh shit!
Bull.
Bro, I said, throw the first stone. Now start earthbending, bro.
Yo, that's putting it light, man.
This man started earthbending up ahead, yo.
Man went into the Avatar state. Yo, Jesus.
I can't.
Man, he up here creating continents, man.
He forming Pangea all by himself.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so Danny,
Yeah.
that was an excellent introduction, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we can go ahead and kick it off again because didn't we say the same thing about BVS? I think we started with "I told you so."
How are they going to recreate Henry Cable's entire upper lip using the same software they used to animate Reboot?
Yo, that man was. So you trying to tell me he was what 25% Bob from Reboot?
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things where everything and their mother was trying to let everybody know that this movie was a mistake. That these movies might be a mistake, man. I mean, first of all, Snyder's a hack, but all due respect, to what happened to him, which made him have to walk away. But then to bring on Joss Whedon and he just initiates order for the reshoots and everybody else has to stop what they're doing and come back, and the whole controversy with Henry Cavill having to do Mission Impossible 6, right?
Right.
I think that was it, right?
Yep, MI6.
Mission Impossible 6. Right. But yeah, so they trying to step on his other commitments when they don't even care about him as Superman. So they can try to get him to come back, mess up his other hustle. He got to shave his mustache. And Paramount was like, nah, we not going for that. He on our clock. So they literally had to try to, and the thing that gets me is it doesn't seem like, compared to all the other stuff we've seen done with CG, removing a mustache shouldn't be that hard. I mean,
look, they can make Robert Downey Jr. actually look like himself from the 80s again. They can make Johnny Depp look like himself walking right off the set of 21 Jump Street again in Pirates. That
was probably the most impressive one they did with Johnny Depp.
They took an old bearded Kurt Russell and made him look like himself with 70s hair.
That was crazy.
He looked like young Kurt Russell again. Yeah. They could do all that. I mean, even Pirate, you could say those are big budget things. Fine. That Pirates movie did not have near as big a budget as some of the other movies out there. That one even did it successfully. Like, there are so many movies. Look what they did with Tarkin and Rogue One.
Facts.
Look at the stuff that they can do, but they cannot make this man's upper lip look freaking human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean,
they had this man walking around looking like a PS2 model.
They're supposed to. Now, here's the thing. This is a rumor, and I'm gonna clarify before I go. So enough about this. This is a rumor. First of all, even if it was a rumor, I really think they probably could have done better than what they did. But I think they just kind of stopped caring because of this, if this is really what happened. Supposedly, according to someone who worked with the VFX department, and they're airing their grievances on Reddit, again, grain of salt here, supposedly the effects department for Justice League didn't want to do this. They actually said, if he has to come in, then, if we have to try to make this deal, then tell Paramount that we want him to shave it off, and we will actually put the mustache back on digitally at no cost. It's easy. It's a lot simpler to do. They even sent them a mock-up of how well they could do it. And supposedly Warner Brothers saw that they'd be the ones having to pay for it and said no, and told them to go ahead and try to do it the other way. And they refused to give them the extra money they needed to pull that off. And they refused to push back the release date, so they had to rush it out in time for release.
Yeah, yep. You know what? And props to Paramount for not backing up on that, because it's all about the principle. He finished Justice League already. He was on their time, yo.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Mission Impossible's time now, yo. So shout out to them. I see a lot of people talking about they should have just let him cut it off and use a fake mustache. It doesn't matter. He's on their time, on their movie time.
Exactly. And that takes a lot. If you know how much of the movie industry Warner Brothers controls, that takes a lot of balls, too.
Mm-hmm. And you know what the funny thing is? You talk about that person, their testimony being a great assault, but I actually wouldn't. I'm inclined to believe it, considering, haven't y'all noticed every time somebody comes out there and talks about a DC movie, whether they're someone who worked on the production, they leaked stuff, I've noticed that 9 times out of 10, it's actually legit. Like, you remember a couple years ago when we started getting the leaks about BVS and how they were going to put Doomsday in the final act of the movie?
Because they over there miserable, bro. It's a miserable workplace over there. They up there low key roasting their own job.
All right, fellas. We get a quick update here. Jamil says he cannot make it.
Ah, man.
Boy.
So we got to pour one out for the Predator.
Pour one out for the. Well, I wouldn't pour anything on that man's plate because it's already dry as is. Ugh.
I mean,
you know how they do it over there with no seasoning and all that.
It's like I would pour a drink out for him, but I'm afraid I might get electrocuted since he is static shock after all.
That's true, man. Wait, wasn't he supposed to come in here with that smoke?
He was. He was swearing up and down he was going to roast it, and then now he can't make it.
Oh,
so he has to just let that all go now.
Instead of coming in with that smoke, he coming in like Snoke in episode 9. Bars.
Bars. Shout out. Shout out. We gotta quote it. We gotta send that to the chat later.
we getting ahead of ourselves here though.
Yeah. Oh, let's keep it in line with Justice League.
All right.
So back on to Justice League. Has anyone here seen the movie? Has anyone went to the theaters, pirated it? Have y'all seen it yet?
I downloaded it and I watched a chunk of it.
I've watched it twice, unfortunately.
What?
Yeah,
that's surprising.
First time I had to watch it, and then the second time I watched it on Skype with a friend, and we started laughing about it.
Jeez. Okay.
Wait. Okay, no, I didn't download it. Sorry, I streamed it. I should clarify that because if you're not clear on that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But yeah,
man, you think anybody care at this point?
We ain't trying to get sued, man. We ain't trying to get sued.
They petty enough. I mean, that thing flopped. They petty enough now. Oh yeah, did we mention Justice League flopped? It's not even gonna make as much as Doctor Strange.
Justice flopped. It's not even gonna make as much. Not even if it made more than Doctor Strange, it wouldn't have made as much.
No. So it looks like they had that logo backwards. Instead of Unite the 7, it looked like it ended up being Unite the L. So yeah.
Justice League, man. You can't
you gotta just flip that 7 around.
Oh man, can we talk about how, like, not only the fact that we've been right 2 years running, but guys, can we just talk about how last year it was a freaking Captain America movie that dethroned Batman and Superman. This year alone, Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, Spider-Man too.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man as well. Spider-Man's a beast.
And they low key.
Yeah.
Yep. They counted Spider-Man out. You know, they counted almost everybody out after Wonder Woman came out. They really thought it was going to sweep the year as far as superhero movies.
And didn't every movie end up grossing more than Wonder Woman?
Guardians, I don't think quite did. But Thor wound up making more, and Spider-Man wound up making more. Yeah.
But I still got to put Guardians in its own category. For them to be as big as they are, it's still impressive, Joe.
Well, you can't give that series enough credit, honestly. I mean, there is a reason that after the Russos are done after Avengers 4, James Gunn's the one taking over. That's I'll just say that right now.
All right, I just checked. Guardians 863, Wonder Woman 821.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Hey. Wow, so they
swept.
Holy crap.
Shit, they swept everything, bro.
I guess Rocket was right. Now they could really bump up their prices. Be a 2-time Galaxy savings.
Topical, but wow, that's just insane. You see, you remember a few years ago how people would always get on our cases accusing us of being Marvel fanboys, saying that this isn't how you need to start a universe. You could do your own thing. Can we just admit that copying Marvel down to a T wouldn't be a bad idea because what DC is doing ain't working at all.
Oh God.
Man, you know what though? I gotta say, I'm like, they gotta, and I think I say this every time we get into this, but I'm gonna keep saying it until it gets through the fans and hopefully WB themselves heads. But Marvel does not have a patent on common sense.
Tell them.
Very, very simple. 1 + 1 must be 2. I mean,
are you sure?
It's. I mean, I guess, but it annoys me that that's the only reason they will not. And it's like, remember in the Facebook chat, I made up an example. I was like, it's like 2 people are going to work. One guy took the elevator. The other guy didn't take the elevator because that guy did it already. So what he do? He tried to climb up the side of the building to get to the same floor, because the other guy took the elevator already. You both got a destination to go. He doesn't own the elevator. It is so annoying. It is very simple. It is not that complicated. You make your regular movies first to build up everything, and then it comes together. I'm like, I don't get what's so hard about that. Like, that DC can't do it. They refuse to do it. That dark universe, they keep trying, and they're gonna keep falling to it. Everybody wants to try a cinematic universe, but they will not lay the foundation. They automatically think about their Avengers movie, for example. Just everybody's thinking about the big crossovers. I'm like, y'all are impatient. How are y'all supposed to be making the movies and y'all impatient? The fans supposed to be the impatient ones.
Well, the funny thing about the Avengers too is one reason it worked is that it was actually never the plan.
True, yeah, exactly.
And
it was a joke.
I know that sounds weird. It was the whole Nick Fury thing and the Avengers initiative was actually thrown in by Jon Favreau as a joke in Iron Man. Yeah. It was never meant to lead to anything. But then the studios thought about it, and they started talking, and they're like, okay, well, we'll kind of test some waters here. And Universal had the Hulk, and so they made the Incredible Hulk, and then they had Robert Downey Jr. show up, and that is Tony Stark. And it's like, they waited to see how audiences responded to that, and they responded very well. So they're like, okay, we'll push this a little more. Now, that is where they did make a misstep, though, because that's when they tried to force Iron Man 2, and that they did kind of hurt that movie for the sake of setup.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's the thing. They saw that, and they learned from that. DC does that. They see that, and instead of learning from that, they just commit to it wholeheartedly.
oh, snap, yeah. If BVS was the Iron Man 2, then... Wow, that is actually a good analogy. Holy crap.
Man, bruh. But you know what? We could take that and lead that right into WB/DC's whole mindset on it. You can just kind of tell, and this is why, and I actually recorded, but you can tell their heart is not in this as much as you can tell as it is, mainly through Kevin Feige, Marvel. WB, they are looking at it strictly from how can we flip? They looking at it like drug dealers. So how can we flip this and get the money out of it? You know, and trust me, I know everybody does this for the sake of making profit, but you could tell Feige has a genuine love for this. He's a nerd. He's a comic follower.
Oh, Feige's a comic nerd like we are. I mean, he's actually still really good friends with Jeff Johns. They knew each other when they were young. They were friends back then. They were both really into comic books.
And couple that with the fact that Kevin Feige, some people don't know this, but this dude has, like, he gets a lot of credit that he rightfully deserves, but more so than anything, this dude has been in the trenches when it comes to comic book movies. He was there back in the very beginning on the Fox X-Men days, you know, the first Spider-Man movie, as just like this producer who's just running around, and they consulted him for minor things. But this dude did his dues. So when he was able to get this thing up off the ground, it meant something.
Yeah,
it meant something. And just taking it from Iron Man 1 to the Avengers, Avengers 2, and then this is like the big takeaway where he finally ascended.
Well,
when he
and when you see him too, and he talks about this stuff, and he talks about these characters, he talks like somebody who really loves these characters. Usually when you hear someone talk like that, it's like the writer or the director or the actor, and it's like, of course they're going to be passionate about it because it's directly their baby. The producers, they tend to be more detached because they look at the business end of things. But when you see the producer, the executive producer of all these movies, sitting there talking about these characters and how much they impacted him growing up and how much he loved them and still loves them, when you see that man actually almost in tears when he's able to announce they have Spider-Man back, when he actually was in tears when he finally announced Doctor Strange and brought the cast out, that man was actually in tears at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And people like completely overlook that, but that man genuinely loves these characters. He genuinely loves what he does.
Mm-hmm. And he's earned a lot from it. I mean, like, from the business side of things, the sheer fact that he was able to take Marvel Studios from a no-name company and elevated them to the level of Pixar and Lucasfilm, to where he reports to the main person at Disney as opposed to going through someone like Ike Perlmutter. Kevin Feige has done a lot. Kevin Feige is the reason this is successful, not to discredit anyone else who was involved with it, the other actors and directors and writers. But the point we're trying to make is that but I just want to say Feige has a vision. He has coherent vision, and he's able to mold this universe with like-minded people. DC, you remember how they started out when they were advertising it? They were saying they wanted to make it filmmaker driven, how they wanted to give the creators the freedom to craft their own type of stories. I honestly think that's part of the reason why this DCU is in such shambles.
You know what? You might be on to something. We could take it even further back when they felt the need to continue riding out the Dark Knight trilogy in the MCU because they literally thought it wasn't going to work. That's another key observation I like to use is when the MCU started rolling up, the Dark Knight had just came out, and they were fully committed with just rolling with these solo Batman films against what Marvel is probably trying to do with this potential team up. It was very early, and they just never bothered to even try to expand the idea. At most, it was always just, well, if somebody would ask someone from Warner Bros. Or whatever, well, Marvel has something with the Avengers possibly going down, and the possibility of a Justice League movie. They always said they were looking into it, they were brainstorming it. They're getting some type of ideas together. And I remember it got to the point of them saying if they did it, it would be another Batman and not Christian Bale's Batman. It was like a lot of talk. It was all talk until it was all talk until the Avengers came out and they started seeing the money it made. They just started making calls, bro. Making calls, bro.
Well, I mean that was the first comic book movie to break $1 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
No, The Dark Knight, I believe.
Well, nah.
No, it didn't.
No,
I thought it was the Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. The Dark Knight did, but the Avengers
it did. Didn't it do it like? Wasn't it like across the billion, but like due to extended releases or something like that?
You might be right with that.
It's possible. I remember it came back to the theater like one more time. I don't know if that gets counted or not.
Yeah, it does. That's how Avatar got it, how high up it did, and that's how Titanic got how high up it did. And
unfortunately,
still ticks me off to this day.
Oh yeah, Every few years they roll that damn movie back.
When they did the screenings of the BBS unrated cut or whatever. They counted that too.
That still counted, and they still couldn't crack the billions.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that, man.
That's wow.
But yeah, it was all talk. It's like I I look at those little things and just like it was all talk until the Avengers came. I don't care what nobody says. There was no moves being made,
Oh, they
none
admit
at
it.
all.
Oh no!
The
They admit it.
Avengers came
Wait,
out.
from what I heard that the Green Lantern movie was supposed to be the catapult for the DCEU until it flopped, and they were just like, okay,
Yeah,
well, Superman on
but
the other hand.
and plus Green Lantern was so self-contained. It was one of those things where
Right.
they have the sequel add. They can have the sequel added. Like I'd give them more
Yeah.
credit if they had planted the seed during the movie, not knowing what was going to happen or not. Like
Yeah.
so that's 50-50. But yeah, just from that standpoint, it's like you see the difference. You see the clear difference in between how these two cinematic universes. Well, one started and one I don't even know. One can't even get both feet on the ground, one foot,
Yep.
and it's they don't have genuine a genuine fan with power. It's like how much money,
Yeah.
the statistics, and all that of the people. They don't have a fan in there, bro.
Okay, but before we run out of time, can we talk about the Justice League plot?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah, go for it.
let's go ahead and get into
Spoilers
So-
for those who haven't
so-
seen the movie, or well, obviously no one's seen it.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
I should clarify. I should clarify the Justice League plot. Yes. the heavily implied air quotes.
Oh God, here we go.
Added.
Wait, wasn't this going to be the story
Justice
with all the
League-
heart?
Yep. All the heart, all the humor, all the
Justice League pilote.
Let's take a look at what works and what doesn't work in Marvel and try to make a mishmash out of that movie. That's what that was.
Someone straight up said, "Who cares about spoilers for that?" Oh, we just
Well, I
warning
mean,
y'all.
I don't feel bad about
Look,
spoiling
if you ain't seen it by now, you ain't gonna see it.
And apparently, no one did.
Oh,
Go ahead.
of course not.
So, first of all, now, Rob, we were watching the riff tracks of Batman v Superman the other night.
Oh man.
Yep.
How was it?
No, we didn't.
Bro,
Even,
we couldn't even
it.
finish it, bro.
Well, we
That
started
movie
it too
sucked
late.
the energy out.
Oh,
It didn't help that we started so late either. But oh man,
sounds about right.
Danny had to wake me up like 4 times, bro. I kept falling out.
That was Chris during the Breaking Dawn riff.
Yo, I straight up fell asleep. I woke up. It was 4 a.m.
Oh man,
Bro, that movie is like quicksand coming out of your screen, bro.
But all right, here's what I don't get though. One of the things about Justice League is the mother boxes are like completely dormant; they're asleep, and then Superman dies and they wake up. It's like first and foremost, it's really convenient that they were somehow timed to his death. But number two, in Batman v Superman, we rather explicitly see a mother box being used on a cyborg to power him.
Right.
So it's like, how was that one awake and then went back to sleep?
Yeah, I had talked to somebody about this after you had brought that up when we watched the riff, and I don't know whether he was shilling for it or not. I ain't gonna drop his name, but I know he probably listened. But he was saying that Steppenwolf was more so didn't decide to make moves and get the boxes until Superman was dead. When they believed that there was no Defender, no Kryptonian, and no Green Lantern, then he just went and got them. But as far as them awakening or not, I don't know. But Steppenwolf literally was just waiting. Well, I don't know if it was that, but they found that Superman was dead and body went ahead to go get the mother boxes now.
Okay, so basically everybody in these movies just completely sucks at doing any kind of investigation or research.
Sir, excuse me, but if you watch the extended edition of Batman v Superman, you see Superman investigating.
Oh my god.
Nah, for real. That was what some people said. They were like,
Yep.
if you watch the Ultimate Edition. Oh man. But continue. So obviously we've established plot convenience because, well, Super Saiyan plot convenience.
Well, and the convenience goes beyond that. See,
I mean, look.
Mm-hmm.
No, you go ahead.
Well, you could tell they're going for an Infinity Stone thing because just like over the course of all the Marvel movies, they found the different Infinity Stones in different places, and a lot of times they've been like with the heroes. They've been in Asgard. They've been in the possession of the oh gosh, I completely forgot the name and now I feel horrible.
Wait, which one? What?
The Eye of Agamotto, you know, is yeah. The Aether, which was, you know, hidden.
Yeah.
You had the Tesseract, the staff, you know, which is now with Vision. It's like they're all
Not
being
for
put
long.
in these really. Well, okay, but that's
please
the point.
no.
Either when they were discovered or at the current time, they're all like in the possession of, or under the protection of, or near all the heroes. You know, that's what they've been setting up. But then suddenly in Justice League, it just happens to be the same thing. You know, there's a mother box in the Themyscira. There's a mother box in Atlantis. There's a mother box at Star Labs. There's a mother box.
Of course.
Everywhere. In all these really convenient places. And it's like,
that was so weird. I mean, even their own explanation of separating the box was weird. Okay, one in Themyscira, okay, the Amazon, one in Atlantis. Into the world of men, and I was like, but who gonna defend it though? You just gave it to regular people. Like, I mean, for some reason, and they got to explain why no Green Lantern has looked at all the BS going on Earth. Somebody need to get fired. Whoever watching that sector that Earth is on, they suck at their job, bro.
Like, can we also, because we brought this up, Dan, you recall when we did the trailer reaction to BVS a couple of years ago, you remember how we were saying something seemed a little bit spooky, how during the Zod invasion, nobody was around to help out Superman, yet they're acting like it was Superman's fault in the sequel.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not even a case of, see, I can understand Diana kind of, you know, not really taking an interest to a point in the affairs of man, you know, because she feels kind of disillusioned. I can understand Arthur being isolationist to a degree. I can understand, you know, like the only one though but when it comes to something like that with Zod and the world engines and how they were, I mean, there was even one drilling into the ocean, for crying out loud.
Yep.
They should have acted. Literally, all of them were going to die if they hadn't done something. He literally saved all their asses completely there,
sir,
on his own,
sir.
And the only even Flash was implied to have had his powers at that point. And you would think that even if he couldn't do a whole lot, he'd have been trying to do something, like evacuate people, something, anything. I mean, even just based on his character, you know, the way he's written in those movies.
So what you're getting on the DCU for that. But what about in Thor Ragnarok when there was the battle in London? Why didn't Iron Man come and help? Why didn't Captain America come and help? Like
the fight in London that lasted a whole 20 minutes, and there's literally no way they could have gotten there in 20 minutes.
Well, how in the world was Wonder Woman supposed to get there if she was in Paris, sir?
I don't know.
Stumps! Gotcha. I said invisible jet.
But man, at least.
Wow.
Well, it's just one of those
throwback.
People say the invisible jet. I wonder if we ever gonna see that.
No, but seriously though, it's like even if they couldn't have made it there in time per se, like just the fact that they didn't step up or anything, or show themselves, or go to see this guy or anything, And I mean, the world engines too, they were supposed to be all over the place.
Right.
And so, like, there
Yeah.
had to have been one within proximity that they could have reasonably tried to get to. They don't even mention it. In fact, I don't think the world engines are even mentioned outside of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
No.
Which, again, I still don't understand how and why they use kryptonite in those things. Like,
but
but that's neither here nor there. What I think is
that. Now, real quick, can we just further go in to establish once again that Man of Steel was not in be the starting point?
SpaghettiOs.
It wasn't. It was not. We've been over this all the time. Man of Steel was supposed to be a Superman trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Bugs Bunny made him, dragged him into that chair and slapped him and told him they want a cinematic universe.
Why you gotta say Bugs?
I mean, hey, let's go ahead. This battle isn't between Marvel and DC. This battle is between Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, bro.
Oh, facts. facts.
But yeah, so this and it annoys me that I cannot find those interviews anymore. Of Snyder talking about how him and whoever his writer was, how they had plans. Was it Goyer? I can't remember Goyer. How they had plans how they had plans for a Superman trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went ghost for months until that fateful night of that convention.
No.
Yeah, and then it all just spiraled out of control from there. So, case in point, Man of Steel was not supposed to be the starting point.
Man of Steel 2 was supposed to come out. It was supposed to be big old thing. They were considering multiple villains for it, including Lex Luthor, Brainiac, etc. They were going to go over the effect that killing Zod had on Clark and establish why he vowed he'd never do it again. They were gonna, all this stuff that they were promising to address. That I thought, oh my God, that is perfect. That is everything that everyone's been complaining about. This is gonna be. It's like I was okay with a lot of what they did in Man of Steel just because I assumed I knew that was the starting point that was going to be built on. I didn't know they were going to leap straight to something else and then not build on it. I mean, exactly. I thought for sure that was when we were going to see the relationship with Lois start to develop. I thought that was when we were going to see all this stuff get addressed, but instead, we're in Batman v Superman now. It's 6 months later. They're already engaged, apparently.
Yeah. Out of the blue.
I mean, I will still defend Man of Steel as a standalone Superman movie. I think it was actually really well done.
Bro, that's one of my favorite superhero movies, man.
We finally got to see like a really good, realistic depiction of Superman's powers too.
Still to this day, that movie gives me chills, bro. That first scene of flying for the first time makes me every time I see Superman. Like that's normally he's normally the gateway here. Mm-hmm. Like when you're young. But back to Justice League, Danny. What were you trying to get into?
I actually lost my train of thought.
Oh, no, but we were talking about how Rob brought up the fact that obviously you can see that just because the first movie didn't make $1 billion, that's where they shifted gears. And ever since then, it's been one bad decision after another. And I love how people try to point to Wonder Woman as a example of them getting back on track. But that's an anomaly. And to be honest, it's an anomaly that comes because of a reaction of BVS, because the previous movies were so bad. That's why a lot of people were expecting this to be good. And, I saw the movie. We all saw the movie. At the very least, it's decent at best. Like, you can't really say it's amazing or it's wow.
Honestly, Wonder Woman, I'd give it a 6.
Yeah, that's about what I give it.
It really reminded me of like the early 2000s superhero movies where everything was really cheesy still. And
yeah. Man, Wonder Woman did what, a solo what a solo film in a cinematic universe kind of should do.
Right. Like it
That
felt, to be honest, like when I was watching this movie, it kind of reminded me of low tier Marvel origin movies. Like I kind of relate the experience I had with Wonder Woman to when I watched the first Thor movie. I came out of it and I was
exactly.
like, that's okay, I guess. But you know, the
Yeah, it's
difference in this
exactly.
case,
It was budget Captain America is the problem.
basically, oh
No,
my
no,
god,
no, no, no,
it
no.
was
only
almost just
advancing.
like the
No,
first Avenger, man.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Legit, no joke. Somebody actually put up 2 photos from storyboards and everything of or well, not storyboards. They were final cuts, but like storyboarded almost with certain photos.
Right.
The movie, and like they found poses where like literally there was one scene in the first Avenger, Captain America running into gunfire with his shield up. Gal Gadot is almost completely mirrored right down to the pose in Wonder Woman. That scene after Cap rescued all those guys and they were from the Hydra plant and the Howling Commandos were formed and he had Bucky back. Right next to it, they've seen out of Wonder Woman, and they were posed in almost the exact same positions. Even it was like they literally storyboarded it while watching Captain America.
God.
Yeah, I noticed that in motion. I didn't even need a still to see. It's like you felt a sense of familiarity when you look at that movie, and it's just like, okay. But then but it was World War One, but it looked like World War II exactly.
Oh, I know that right down to the Germans acting less like the Kaiser's troops and more like Nazis.
Yeah,
exactly.
Proto-Nazis.
So I mean, there was some extreme biting going on.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one who kind of noticed some of the similarities. Like, you remember how it got to the point? Do you guys? You might not recall this, but do you remember how even the advertising of the movie, they had a done goof moment, and they actually said, "Join Wonder Woman and see her World War II battles."
Oh yeah, that was posted on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah. So even they slipped up. Yeah.
I'm telling you, fam. But I mean, as it stands, like I enjoyed it for what it was. But what's up?
Wow, I was saying that Bugs Bunny had him killed.
That's exactly what happened. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of harmless. You know, it didn't do anything amazing, but it also didn't do anything to harm it. Unless, you know, you're talking about, well, the obvious elephant in the room with the retcons and how that affected Justice League. But I think we pretty much talked about why we dislike Justice League. And of course, like, we could go on for hours and hours. But what I want to talk about, yes. Oh, yes, we will when we do the
once
inevitable.
We've all seen it, we will really rip into it.
Yeah, comment down below if you guys want us to do another, like we did for BVS, the post roast discussion where it's like,
already know
it. Yeah, but there's one thing I want to talk about before we switch gears to discussing Star Wars. The box office gross for Justice League. Obviously, it didn't make anywhere close to $1 billion. It didn't hit any of their original goals. Realistically, where do you think DC goes from here? Because as it stands, their universe is still a mess. They really only have one movie in the can right now that is coming out, and that is Aquaman. But as it stands, things can still be shaken up. We know Wonder Woman's probably going to happen. We know Shazam's probably going to happen. But other than those movies, everything is still up in the air. So, Rob and then Danny, where do y'all think this is going to go?
Okay, so solo movies finally, even though they should have started with that, so we're gonna see the solo movie. So like you said, Aquaman was already done, so they can't throw that in the garbage. That's money right there. And Wonder Woman being their shining star, of course, I mean, I can go ahead and say Wonder Woman is definitely gonna have at least 3 movies,
right?
Probably more. That's a shoe in right there. If anything, she might end up taking Batman's place in the midst of all this craziness.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like they be ready for that. They're about to give the keys to her because she's the only one that got a semi W. but yeah, they're gonna do that. they're gonna abuse the because DC has done it in every form of media. They are going to abuse the crap out of multiverse, and by that I mean the Flashpoint movie. The Flashpoint movie is going to be their way of rebooting it without rebooting it.
So
Because go ahead.
So not to interject real quick, but so do you think they go all the way and do a full on reboot, or do they do a quasi reboot where they cast new actors for the people who want to leave? Like, what do you think, Rob?
What I think is going to happen is simply, and I'm going to use Bruce Wayne because the Flashpoint story always ends with Barry talking to Bruce. I think when Barry does, if the Flashpoint story is still going the way I think it does, Barry saves his mother. How I think the movie gonna go is Barry goes back, saves his mother. You get to experience the whole movie with Negan as Batman, and everything is gonna happen as it should. And as soon as Barry puts everything back and goes to talk to Bruce, Bruce is gonna be somebody else. It's gonna be somebody. It's gonna be a different actor. And it's gonna be a nasty job. But since multiverse is DC is almost too comfortable with the multiverse, literally to the point that, real quick, in their current story arc, the characters are so nonchalant if they run into their doppelganger. It's just like I just saw like Superman of our universe talking to a one-eyed war veteran Nightwing, and it's just like there's no shock to it. It's like, oh man, your universe must be jacked up. So anyway. That's how it's going to be a nasty way.
To be fair, though, Marvel does have that same problem now. So,
yeah, I mean, to the point that some people literally just move in universes like they move in states. Like, I'm about to go live in 616, man. Y'all tripping. Like, but yeah, they're going to take full advantage of it because DC seems to love multiverse to the point that they low key kind of just say everything from the movies to the CW shows to the comics to the video games because of multiverse theory could all be in one thing on its own. So
well, that's why they called it the DC Expanded Universe.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. The whole concept of the multiverse, obviously they want to become comfortable with it because they can find a way out. But here's something someone brought up in the comment section. That was one of the things that really killed the CW series because they relied too heavily on it, and it just it's like they tried to use it to save the show and say, hey, this is interesting, look at all of us crossing over, but then it's like, oh wow, that kind of killed the Flash season 3. Great.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's what I think they're gonna do.
Hold on.
You done.
All right.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is literally my last part that I'm going to say. So as far as the future of it, real quick, solo movies until Flashpoint. Flashpoint is going to rearrange everything, their reboot within the reboot. And also because of this multiverse craziness, that's going to be their scapegoat for these Elseworld films that are still going to happen. So that Joker origin, that possible Superman Red Sun film, all that they have an excuse for that by just saying multiverse Elseworld. But yeah, you go ahead.
All right, here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna make, well, like you said, solo movies, but I think that they're gonna do it in a much more cynical fashion. What they're really gonna do is everything that's already in production is gonna get finished, and then they're gonna toss it out there. Not with a lot of fanfare either. They're just going to toss it out there. They're going to see what sells, what doesn't, who sells, who doesn't. They're going to take a look at whether or not it's the performance, the writing, what have you. Flashpoint's going to happen. They're going to soft reboot the thing. They're going to trade out actors if they can, if they want to. Whoever wants out can get out. They can get someone else in, etc., yada, yada, so forth, and so on. And they're going to take what stuck and who stuck from the previous continuity, and they're going to form this new continuity around the people who sold. So if Aquaman sells okay, they're going to film it. They're going to try to form it around Aquaman. Wonder Woman sold okay, they're going to try to form it around Wonder Woman. The irony is that they're big names who usually do sell are actually probably going to have to take the back seat. Because they screwed him up so bad that it's almost irreparable. And they're already trying to move away from Superman. They're actually trying to blame, I kid you not, they're actually trying to pin everything from Man of Steel's poor reception to Batman v Superman's completely bad reception to Justice League's bad reception on Superman. There's even talk internally apparently of rebranding it as the Superman Trilogy.
Oh my God.
And Superman's probably going to get stuck in the corner and not let out. Batman, as much as I'd love to see them sideline him, they won't. They won't. I mean, and really, DC fans only have themselves to blame because as much as they try to stomp around and scream, "Why won't you focus on other heroes?" It's all y'all buy. It's really all y'all buy. You look at you look at all the top 10 comics. Every single one of them from DC that wasn't Doomsday Clock was a Batman comic.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking like little one-shot spin-offs too. Come on. Y'all, that's all y'all are buying. That's why that's all they sell. That's why that's all they focus on. So you got yourselves to blame. Y'all need to fix that. Now, the other problem is going forward going to be how are they going to sell this as a different continuity yet the same one? Because one of the things that they're going to then try to do or try to figure out how to do is establish that, yeah, some things are different now, and yet some of the things that happened in the original films that people liked still happened. So that's going to be fun for them to try to iron out, but they'll do it because, again, they want to keep as much of what worked as they can and try to flush what didn't. It doesn't work like that. You're going to wind up with a bunch of Frankenstein movies and a Frankenstein continuity, but so be it. They're willing to try it so long as it makes them money. As you can tell, I have a much, much, much more cynical view of this than most people, but they did it. So.
Oh yeah, but no doubt about it. It makes sense. It's rooted in some place that we all understand.
And honestly, I think they are gonna try to churn out some of those multiverse movies. They are gonna try to make that Joker movie with a completely different actor. And the reason they're going to do that too is that if that actor turns out to be popular, then they're going to real quietly give the pink slip to Jared Leto and replace him with this guy, and try to retcon continuity so that this is the actual Joker now. They're going to do all that, and then the bubble's going to burst for them because when they have all these other movies and nobody knows what's canon and what's not, what ties into this movie, what doesn't. People are going to get sick of it. People are going to get sick of trying to keep track of it and just stop watching. And the sad thing is, I really hope that does not affect the rest of the industry, but I have a horrible feeling it might. If the superhero movie bubble does burst, it is going to be because of DC.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I mean, not to downplay anything that you just said, Danny, but this whole concept of superhero movie fatigue, we hear that every single year before we get like the onslaught of movies. Haven't you guys noticed that superhero movie fatigue really only seems to be a DC problem? Because
I can't entirely agree with that because it's also a Fox problem.
Well, I mean, Fox Marvel, as in Fox X-Men, not Deadpool and Logan, because those movies ended up making money.
Well, Deadpool is kind of sitting at a continuity into and of itself. I mean, it's not even clear how it ties in with the other X-Men stuff. And Logan was basically a send-off for a character that was also in its own timeline.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, about 70% of that love, though, comes from it being Hugh Jackman's last time.
True. Yeah. But here's the thing I'm trying to say. I don't think we have a superhero movie fatigue as it pertains to the MCU, because even the characters that people were so lukewarm about, like Thor, for example, people say he's been the weakest, right? Thor Ragnarok made close to $1 billion at the box office on his third outing after 4 years of being away from the spotlight. So I think that's only relevant if we're talking about companies that make it a point to play by ear and see what people want. Like this, I don't get the whole what's up.
Well, see, I'm going to stop you right there for one reason. I don't necessarily agree with that, and here's why. While we're not seeing the effects of it now, I really think we're going to see the effects of it, especially if DC starts screwing up too. Because one reason that everyone is really invested in the MCU right now is that it has been going on so long, so well, etc. And we're finally getting to what they're kind of billing as a finale. And
Right.
and Feige's talked about how the next phase is going to be sort of a new era for the MCU, and things are going to be different. And people are hearing that, and they're getting concerned. And I am seeing a lot of people say that, well, they're under the impression that Marvel is essentially going to soft reboot or even hard reboot the MCU after the final Avengers movie, Avengers 4. Because of the phrasing that they've used and everything. I think what we're going to honestly see, especially like I said, if the other companies kind of flood the market with superhero movies, is that once that arc is concluded, I think you're going to see a lot of interest kind of fall off. Because really, I mean, they have to. This is the start of a whole new arc, and you have to try to resell it. And I mean, one of the reasons it sold is that it had never been done before, but now it has been done before. It's been done really well. They're going to be criticizing every phase going forward, trying to see if it can measure up to what came before. And then, when you got DC making about 30 different movies that aren't even connected to each other, it's like people are going to say, well, what's the point? How do I know these guys aren't going to do the same thing, etc. And I really do think we're going to start to see some audience investment kind of taper off.
Yeah.
Now, I know that Feige's probably aware of this too, so I'm pretty sure that when it's feasible for him to reveal what exactly they're talking about beyond the Avengers movies, he will. But as it stands now, with what we know now,
yeah.
I do have concerns about even the Marvel movies going forward after Avengers 4.
I will see, but my standpoint is, I was gonna say, my standpoint is, it's there. People are getting paid to brainstorm. How can they avoid something like that? And the only thing I can think of is you can subside that if you have just a crazy idea of an arc the next time that'll just make people just hush, and they could do this, but it would take a little bit more building up, probably a phase 5 film. Like imagine seeing a at D23 or whatever, and they give you the layout of their films and just flat out one movie just says Avengers versus X-Men. You're looking for like
well, I really hope they don't rush to that, but
I think he's talking more, not necessarily Avengers versus X-Men, but he's talking in the sense that they could do these arcs. But here's the thing. I understand where you're coming from, Danny. Yeah. I agree with it, but I still believe that if you have crafted something, you've gotten so many people invested in it, at the bare minimum, they'll stick with you until shit goes left. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Then again, I think this is a perfect segue into our next topic, talking about how you've got all this fan love, all this support, and then what do you do with it? Well, you know what? We're going to let our special guest here. It's been a long time since he's been on the show. Let's welcome Crazy Black Man, a.k.a. Crazy Star Wars Fan 108. What's going on, Adam?
Oh, nothing much. It's your boy got off of work, and I'm telling you, life could not be better, my dude. Christmas Eve is about to be nice and quiet, except for about Star Wars. That's not as quiet.
Oh no! You are going to hear me bitch into the wee hours of the morning.
Right. So here we are. It's a little over an hour since we've started. For those of you guys who are still watching, I think we're going to dedicate the rest of this stream to talking about The Last Jedi because there's a lot to discuss. So let's take it back to the last time all four of us were together talking about Star Wars. I think, were we all together for the Far, Far Away cast like 2 years ago?
I think we were.
So. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Now I'm depressed again. You remember when we had all that really fun speculation about what could happen?
Yeah. Why do you keep happening to us?
We were amongst the millions of people that all threw out these well-wishing ideas and speculations, and
Well, I mean, I
Oh
wasn't even
man.
married to any of it. I wasn't even saying I'm 100% sure they're going to do this or they have to do this. It just, we were doing that for fun, but it was like, it was so cool, and we were so innocent back then.
Oh, yeah, all right, all right. Can we just compare the feelings and emotions that existed from Force Awakens to now? Like, I still remember having such a
Oh my
fun
god!
experience watching the Force
All
Awakens.
right, all right.
I
Before
saw.
before 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 we get into this, though, we need to give a shout out to our sponsor. Really, really, really freaking plot convenient. Gravity in Space. Thank you.
Oh man.
Damn,
Why would you say no?
damn. I
We got to pay the bills.
I
Said with the gravity in space. I'm done.
Really
I'm
convenient
done.
gravity. Yeah.
if you were to compare emotions from Episode 7 to Last Jedi, I remember Episode 7 ended, and I want to talk like immediate theater emotions. I was super hyped, excited, happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I saw the first new Star Wars film in 10 years. Well, that's not counting the Clone Wars movie. I was just like, this is great. I'm feeling great about this. This is such a
Man,
great feeling.
we like hopped on Skype or Discord or whatever the heck we were on at that time, but we were like talking about it.
Yeah, and it was just
Wait,
so
what are we
many
talking about?
good
Where
feelings.
was?
Me and Adam, like right
Talking
after we
about
both saw the movie, we were like in a private call for like 3 hours afterward, I think.
Yeah, because we were just so excited about it. And Episode 8, the credits. I stayed for the credits for I've been staying for credits for all films as of late a lot more often because I really just want to like appreciate the talent that's put into it.
Of
But with
course.
Episode 8, though, there was this. I went with my same group of friends I've been going with, and the only new inclusion was my girlfriend, and she commented and said that I just looked depressed because I mean I literally was. I just sat there the entire time, just kind of like, okay, okay, this is wow. And to quote BB-8, according to Ryan Johnson in The Last Jedi, BB-8 said, "I got a bad feeling about this," and that's how I felt driving to go see that film. I was super
Wow,
sad.
Danny.
I was super sad when I got out of it, and it was that. It just, I don't know. That's my feelings for when I first saw it. My first immediate feelings afterwards. I don't
man.
quite shake that yet.
I'll say this. This is the first time I put off, well, in my adult life, first time I put off seeing a Star Wars movie for a good few days. Like, I put it off seeing it Thursday night.
Yeah.
Well, I was at work. Friday morning, didn't see it. Saturday morning, didn't see it. Finally got to see it on Sunday, and that's because I had to drag myself in order to get that IMAX early bird ticket. You know what I'm saying? But
Right. Of course.
yeah.
Me, after when it comes to Force Awakens reaction, it's very much the same with you all. I mean, we all did that podcast talking about the future. We just got caught up in this feeling that Star Wars is back. It's a new trilogy, and it's like it was like, and I don't know about y'all, but it's like I think I could speak for most of the fans when I say it felt like even though we didn't work on this movie, it felt like a tremendous weight was lifted off your shoulder because we were so worried about them making episode 7 so long, man. We had no idea how this was gonna go, and when you saw it, you kind of felt like, okay, we got some work now. You're like, this could do something, and you had all these doors opened and all this all water cooler talk, like things you talked about with your friends and speculated. It was so many good like conversation holders, just trying to discuss the future of everything that this movie set up. So with that being said, when The Last Jedi came, and I was like detached from like most of the promotion. I just knew I was going to see it. I like saw the major trailers. I wasn't one of those people that watched like every TV spot that they released and stuff. I saw like the key trailers, and that was about it. That was about all I really had as like, a prerequisite to going in. So when I went and saw this movie, I felt like I felt like Saitama just slapped me across the face, bro.
Ouch.
I was not expecting.
What a comparison.
Yeah, yeah. Not even a punch, bro. Like what was it, episode 2 of One Punch Man when he slapped that mosquito chick?
Damn.
Like that's how I felt,
I know
bro.
exactly
I was
what you're
blindsided, bro.
talking about.
Yeah, bro. He just, I
Damn.
mean, he didn't even dignify a punch. He just slapped her. She just exploded. Like, bro, that's how I felt, bro. Like I was sided. Complete shift of everything with the Last Jedi. I mean, it's a different, it's a different movie. It is a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before we get into all the extra details, I'm mainly speaking around it. I know we're all just gonna go into it, but it is literally a different movie, and I came out just not every time. It's funny, and I'll end with this. It's funny every time I see a bad movie. I always get this like weird feeling in my chest, man. It's like I don't know if you want to call it heartbreak or is it like a bad movie spider sense or what, but it's always this feeling I start getting, yo. And it always like this tug in my chest, and I felt it throughout the whole movie. I was like, nah, not with Star Wars, bro. Now, this is like the same feeling I had when I saw X-Men 3, when I saw The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh
It was just
no.
ringing. I was like, not with Star Wars, bro. And it just kept getting worse and worse.
All right.
I was shattered. I was shattered walking out, bro. Like,
All right. To really tell you how this movie made me feel, I think I need to tell you how I felt before I saw The Force Awakens. And
Oh yeah,
during the
yeah.
time-
Tell him the whole history, Danny. The
Okay,
whole
so
history.
I was a major Star Wars EU fan, like expanded universe stuff, big time. I had a ton of the books. I used to read those almost religiously every time a new one came out, and I was able to get it. I ran and I got it. I actually I at one point was able to sit down and read through like 3 of those books in like as many weeks. Okay. Like I remember I read through like the entire Black Fleet Crisis, and then I read oh shoot, what was it?
If
The
later than Black Fleet or earlier than Black Fleet.
it was before. I kind of read out of order, but
Jedi Academy or the trilogy with Callista.
yeah, that was it. That was it.
Okay.
It was the first one of that Children of the Jedi. Like I read the Black Fleet Crisis. I was on Children of the Jedi all within 3 weeks. Loved the crap out of those books. Most of those books. I don't talk about Planet of Twilight. I don't talk about the Crystal Star. There's a reason for that. But I loved those books, and I loved how expansive everything got and everything. And it's like there were times that I did kind of not like how heavily everything revolved around the Jedi, which is why I did also like the X-Wing comics and books and everything, because it's like it was cool to see like the military side of things. It's also why I really loved. I still love the Battlefront Twilight Company novel, because I mean that was straight up in the trenches warfare, and that is an aspect of Star Wars that I actually really like, and I really wish we got to see a little bit more of. It was kind of cool seeing it in Rogue One too, but leading up to that, I was so mad when they killed all the expanded universe stuff. I was mad that I lost all that. I was mad that I felt like I was losing like decades of investment. I was especially mad that Mara Jade was gone. Like my love for Mara Jade cannot be understated. She was an amazing character, and it was so hard letting go of her. Like she was a legitimately very well written, badass female character.
Hell yeah.
And the chemistry that she had with Luke on the page was incredible. And losing that, it just, I did not like that. And I mean, right up to like through the announcement and everything, the casting, You can even ask Adam. He was sitting there trying to sell me on it, and I was insistent that I wasn't even going to go see this.
Oh snap! Yo.
I
To
remember.
take it back because we actually do have archival footage up on the channel.
I was just about to bring it up.
Yeah, no, it's hard to not remember those days.
We have an actual beef video, Adam versus Danny, when it comes to The Force Awakens. Guys, this was recorded May of 2013, so over 4 years ago. You can see Danny's entire mindset and where he was coming from. Wait, yo, I can quote this because I remember he says, Adam, when that movie, episode 7, comes out and it has prequel quality, you will own.
Yo, that is the exact quote. I remember everything about that night. And
That
like
night
real
was
quick,
legendary.
Adam. Real quick, Adam. One of the most famous quotes you ever did was, and I'm sure Chris remembers this because this is like we talk about it. We used to talk about it all the time.
Oh my god!
Where he was breaking down.
I was so mad back then, and I was so adamant.
Wait. We lost Rob for a second. We lost Rob. What happened, Rob? Sorry, we lost you.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Nah, where Adam was talking about, he went to ask the dude if they had Opars Hunter. He said the guy looked at him like, what the fuck is Opars?
I go to my anime store where I get news about anime before it even comes out, and ask him for Opars Hunter. What the fuck is that? And I turned to volume 42, page 16. Oh, look, there he is.
Bro, that would be one of the funniest moments because I still think about that quote, man. Oh, that was funny.
I go back to Walmart. I said, "Did you get the book in yet?" They're like, "What the fuck is that?" And then Adam said that they said, sorry, we can't carry this book, not to piss off Kishimoto. I mean, Masashi. Yo, that was legendary. Man. I'm about to go back and rewatch that video right now.
You got to send me the link to that too, man.
Please send me that, bro.
I got you. Hold up.
But the point being, though, I was like so mad back then, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. I had no faith in J.J. Abrams at all.
It's only understandable. He cut off your arm. You wanted revenge. Sorry.
Oh, God.
I had to quote the prequels. I'm sorry.
Oh, God. I literally drug my heels.
I'm thinking about it.
I literally drugged my heels on seeing that movie for I don't know how long. I didn't care about set photos. I didn't care about design. I didn't care about nothing. Everything I saw.
I remember I sent you the link, Danny, of J.J. Abrams doing the Force for Change thing where the pilot walks and gets in the X-Wing. I remember you straight up told me, you said, "Who gives a damn? It's not a it's not a stealth fighter. It's not a stealth X." And I was like, I just thought you'd like it because it kind of looks like it. You're like, "No, give me my EU pack."
Man, he calling out charity now? Sheesh. Continue, Danny.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, I wouldn't even let myself like the ship designs, man. It was just.
Oh yeah, hey, and real quick, just so the chat knows, Danny is a master at letting the apple ruin the whole apple tree.
You ever pick an apple?
Yeah.
You look at that shit and you go, "Oh, this looks kind of nice." And you take a bite, like, "Oh, this tastes pretty good." You go, "I'll pick another apple." You pick the other apple, and you're like, "Wait, this shit."
I remember. I remember when Danny wasn't gonna get Raging Blast 2 because of that Attack of the Saiyans OVA.
Oh my God! What?
No, wait a minute.
Danny,
So,
yo,
this man holds a grudge.
Danny, damn.
Can I finish it?
Oh no.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
All right. Point is, I wouldn't even let myself get excited about any facet of that movie. I was just so pissed off. And Adam finally got me to agree to at least, watch the trailer and see if that changed my mind. Like not the I mean, and then the teaser trailer came out, the first teaser, and I watched it, and it's like, we'll see, because it's like all I'm seeing right here is some really vague imagery. So whatever. I mean, I couldn't say I hated it because nothing really happened, but I just meh. But then the full trailer came out.
Oh, yes.
And I saw what they did with that, and I saw how they sold the characters and positioned them, and I saw a whole bunch of really interesting stuff. I even saw some stuff that actually reminded me of stuff that happened in the EU, and like it occurred to me that they're not just tossing it all out; they're actually keeping some of the stuff that worked and reincorporating it. I saw and just the way it was structured and the way it ended with that, the force is calling to you, just let it in, and it was like I actually felt happy, like that felt like Star Wars,
It got real. It really did.
and I said, okay, I'm gonna go watch this, and I went and I watched it. I came out of that movie so happy and so excited and so emotional. I was running out. I told Adam, you give me a list of every single book that's already out. You give me a list of books that are coming out. I'm getting these. I was sitting there like asking him everything that I had missed, everything that I had refused to read. I wanted him to give me info. He was linking me like behind the scenes stuff from way back that I started watching again. I was pouring through literally everything I could find. That made me excited for Star Wars again. When I had given up hope of ever being happy with that series again, like that made me excited for it again. As excited as I used to be, maybe even more than I used to be. And I mean that excitement stayed. You can even ask everybody here can verify. I was probably one of the most hyped people for this movie going in.
No doubt, no doubt.
And
Yeah.
I was talking about it almost incessantly. I was really freaking looking forward to it, and then
And then the Fire Nation showed up.
Right?
and
Don't you mean the Ryan Nation?
Master of all four elements of. Oh, never mind.
Ooh.
Oh man.
I started seeing some stuff that made me kind of worry. I started hearing some comments that made me kind of worry, and I wasn't sure how to feel about those. And then stuff from the movie started to leak, and I saw some stuff that I didn't even want to see. This is one of those times too. I didn't even actually look for the spoilers. Just word of advice: never ever, even when a movie is like a week away, do not go on Reddit and do not click anything. That's my advice to you, because this dude put a post on the Star Wars Reddit that supposedly linked to a Star Wars Lego build collection where he supposedly like constructed almost like a collage of all the Star Wars movies from episode 1 to episode 7 with like Lego sets, and it's like that sounds cool. So I clicked on it, and no, the guy's actually got spoilers. It redirected to a spoiler page.
Uh-oh,
And
SpaghettiOs.
I didn't know how much of them were real and how much of them were legit, but I do know enough to know that what I did see, at the time, it was like that is really upsetting if true. Now, thankfully, some of them that would have been extremely bad, at least, weren't true. But there were some that really did irk me, and then when I finally managed to find it online, it's like I can't even. I at that point though, I was already kind of upset too because I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford to go see it, and I wound up not being able to afford to anyway. So, but I did kind of finally find someone had a copy of it online in English, I mean, the first one that came out, I think, was Russian. So good luck with that. But use the force, comrade. In Soviet space. Oh, God. Anyway,
just stay away from my vodka.
But yeah, that when I saw that,
what if the Russians did it out of spite though, because they ain't like it?
Oh damn!
It broke me. It legitimately broke me. I was so freaking upset. I'm still upset. Like honestly, I am almost back. I am almost like not as bad, mind you, not as bad, but I almost am back to the point where I was before, where I just almost don't want anything to do with it anymore. They just things that and here's the thing, I'm not a person who was married to fan theories. In fact, as Adam can testify, as Chris can testify, as Rob can testify, I used to link certain fan theories and say that would be cool if true, but I don't think so. Or I would even, or more often, I would say, look at this. This is dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of how we all were.
Which is true for pretty much anything that came out of Matt Pat's mouth, especially.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh man,
those theories.
Yeah,
I mean, I
think he dropped like 3 theories specifically for this movie, and all 3 of them.
Yeah, all 3 of them were. Yeah, that man's track record, especially with movies, is terrible.
Man.
But what gets me is that I had no love for all the fan theories out there. I mean, some of them were cool. I had a few of my own that would have been cool, but it's like, for me, it was never a theory, and it was never something I was convinced was going to happen. It's like, what if they did this? Or it would be kind of cool if they did it like this, or whatever. But, I mean, I had theories about, Episode 7 going into Episode 7 that in no way happened in Episode 7. And I still loved Episode 7. I mean, conversely, you all remember how I had some of those fan theories going into The Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was even more convinced about my theories for that than I was for Star Wars. Like, I was convinced Alexander Pierce was going to turn out to be the Red Skull.
That would have been crazy.
I was convinced. I thought, that would be so awesome if they did it that way, And it's like, it didn't happen. But you know what? I still love that movie. And that's what I mean when I say that I take so much umbrage. And this is even coming from folks at Lucasfilm, who, even if they aren't saying it themselves, they're retweeting tweets that say this kind of thing, where they say that, people had preconceived notions going in of what was going to happen in this movie, and they're upset, and it's like, and it's understandable that you're upset, but really, we never set this up, or they never set this up. This was all, your fan theories that didn't pan out, and you have to understand that they're not always going to pan out. It's like the movie was one thing. What's really gotten me more upset than anything is the sheer condescension I'm seeing from people in the press, especially toward anyone who did not enjoy this movie.
Oh yeah, I got to give me a piece of that when you're done. But go ahead.
Oh no, I mean that's basically where I am right now. I just the movie was bad enough, but seeing some of the attitudes after it has just no.
Yeah. It's one thing where if people like this movie, if you listen to this or watching this, whatever, and you like this movie, that's on you. You know what? That's your decision. I mean, honestly, this fan base has always been split in half. There's a diehard group that love the prequels and diehard that loves the original. This fan base has always been kind of divisive. So if somebody likes it, but what really gets on my nerves is these methods of defending it by trying to outcast people and trying to rearrange the words. Basically, people are being outcast for using the phrase of the night, common sense. Like they gassing this up to make it bigger than it needs to be in their attempt to defend this movie. You like the whole thing, people are being mad because their theories weren't right. No. yeah, a lot of people have strong theories and stuff, but most of the time, it might not be the case. It's the fact that what really happened just ended up sucking, bro. That's what it was. I mean, it's it's these are DCEU level methods I see people take to defend this movie. I mean, from all the way
Hope
from
anything
the
I say doesn't equal that level, because I have some defense for the things I can defend with this movie, but other things you can't defend at all.
I mean, yeah, there's some things that are plain as day. Like I'm sure if we could and we could make this a challenge one day, I bet you we could point out all the ways, all the negative things about this movie, only using episode 7 as the basis. Like some people thinking that, everybody hates this movie just because of the disrespect or whatever to all of them. But a lot of you can just go in on this movie just off of what episode 7 gave everybody. First of all, the movie, I go all the way back to the beginning and say this new trilogy didn't even need to happen, but the fact that it did, it was cool. That when it started and all that, but very simple things of all the stuff everybody was talking about and speculating. This all originated from the path that episode 7 put us on. And it's like this whole thing of outcasting people because they expected a payoff from what episode 7 led them on. I'm like, that's like somebody giving you directions. That's like you lost in the woods and somebody gave you directions. And they tell you go east. You go east. That's what they told you, the bathroom is or whatever. And yet you go up there and the bathroom ain't there. And you're like, well, you expected the bathroom there. That's why you pissed on yourself. Well, yeah.
Well, it's not even just episode 7 either. I mean, when they went out of their way to emphasize so many times that all of the EU now is like this cohesive, planned out, mapped out canon story. They said that they don't map out details, little details, because they want to give people wiggle room, but like the broader thing of what they need to happen and big story points that you have to go with, and beyond all that, they'll issue any corrections that they need to and leave them where they don't. But and there's so much stuff in that, and in Rebels too, that they kind of seeded out there, and there are these signals calling people from like the unknown regions, and there's all this stuff with like Palpatine and what happened at the end of the Aftermath trilogy, and there was all this stuff, and it's like it felt like it was leading up to something in episode 8, and it's like because that's where like the big revelations in like a trilogy typically happen, and that's where things kind of come to a head, so to speak, or set up for things to come to a head in like the climax, the final episode, and it just feels like so much of that got dropped, and it's like why? I mean, are we supposed to wait for more novels and everything to cover what was set up in other novels? And then when one of the things that really gets to me is when it came to like episode 7, the novelization. Pablo Hidalgo specifically said that the going thing on those was where the novelization lined up with episode 7, that was canon. Where it deviated or contradicted, rather, anything from episode 7, that was not canon. Where it added things, new information that did not contradict with the movie, that's canon. And so basically, there were several scenes in the novel that were canon, or were canon at the time anyway, including Rey and Poe meeting before she left for Octo to go find Luke. And, it was a brief meeting. It was a short little conversation. They kind of hugged each other in celebration, I believe, because the map was completed, if I recall correctly. And then, they introduced each other. And and it was one of those things where it's like, oh no, are they setting up a love triangle because the Poe kind of thought Rey was cute and she seemed to concur with him. So, um, it's like I kind of hope they don't do that, but it's like the worst things have happened in Star Wars. So, like at least she's not related to one of them.
Nah.
but so it was like whatever. But then in the Last Jedi, like they kind of specifically meet for the first time in the Last Jedi. So it's like we have another instance where something that was previously canon. I mean, I know it's like a minor thing technically, but it's like it was previously canon. It's not canon. That does kind of concern me because it's like if they're not going to take the books or anything into account when they go forward, like Rian Johnson. See, here's the thing: when it came to like Gareth Edwards and Rogue One and Lord and Miller, and then I even got fired over it and got replaced with Ron Howard in Solo because of stuff deviating from stuff even mentioned in like books and everything, or for changing things too much because it's like you can't do that. We have to keep cohesive going forward. So you can't just make changes to your script without clearing it with everybody. And it's like, no, we're doing that. And so they got fired. Stuff like that. I mean, they were willing to like step in and get involved there. But when it came to Rian Johnson, apparently no one at Lucasfilm, no one in the story group, Kathleen Kennedy, nobody told him, okay, you can do this, this, and this, or you have to do this, this, and this. It's like, okay, that's cool. But then they also said, and he said, they also never told me you can't do this, this, or this. And it's like, that's going to be a problem because, things might not line up that way. And sure enough, there are things from The Last Jedi that do not line up with expanded universe material now. And the reason that that's so upsetting is that the whole reason the story group was created and the whole reason the EU was rebooted in the first place was literally to avoid this problem. The part of the problem with the old expanded universe stuff is it wasn't cohesive. They had to have tiers of canon where there was like G canon, which was George Lucas canon, that was the movies and the Clone Wars TV show. They had B canon, which was the books. They had C canon, which was the comics, and then they had like I think 2 lower tiers for like board game stuff and video game stuff. And it's like, and the problem there too is that, they weren't coordinating with George Lucas. George did whatever George wanted to do, and they had to kind of scramble to do damage control and retcons around that. And it's like they didn't want to do that anymore, which is part of why they rebooted it. It freed up the space to tell stuff into the future. It would allow them to make sure that everything going forward was cohesive and lined up together. But if Ryan's not going to be, told, I can understand not requiring him to read all that, I can, because realistically, you don't go to someone and say, okay, here's all these books we have out. Here's all these books that are coming out. You have to read every single one of these before you can write this. I mean, the idea behind that would be, you write your thing, you send it to us, we'll look it over, we'll make any corrections where we need to, and we can work from there. They didn't do that.
Well, the way I look at it is that with Rian Johnson, they felt so good about him as a creator of content and of stories and of as a filmmaker that they didn't want to infringe upon that, because the style of filmmaker he is, unlike the Millers, for example, is the correct style in a sense of what fits a Star Wars film with these characters, opposed to potentially doing like a comedy-esque Han Solo film. There's also the thing that I believe in. I'm not agreeing with the direction they took, but however, I do want to respect that there's them as storytellers in a sense. They, if from what I can tell from what we saw on screen, they believe that writing wise, and maybe not the entire story group, but the thing is, you can't come out and say anything. Like, the thing is, if you can't come out and really say you're against the company on a line like that. If you really want your job in a sense, at least in my opinion. But from what I can gather is for the majority of them felt like the way in which elephant in the room. Let's just get it out there and let's just say it already. Okay, a lot of things that are the problems with the Last Jedi come with characterization of characters that have already been previously established. Okay, so
Right.
Danny and I's big one is Luke. Okay, so that elephant in the
Go.
room.
Tell him. Tell him.
So thing with Luke, and kind of like Robert said earlier too. You don't even have to use the original trilogy or the prequels or anything to talk about problems with the Last Jedi in our opinions. Force Awakens, but on the Luke thing, I believe that the story group believes, in their opinion, that writing wise, that Luke. Here's the other part of it too, which I'm not fully understanding of, and I've been kind of. This may be damage control, so if someone calls me out on it, I'm totally fine with it. But Luke, based off what they believe, by the time we see him in The Last Jedi in the flashbacks, and by the time we see him in the current present day, is a very defeated soul that made very poor, moment of weakness choices. Story-wise and characterization-wise, moment of weakness is the key word in that sentence that Luke even says, and that somewhat excuses it. But something I was thinking about going to the now, the canon books that they have. In the Bloodline book about Leia, something very small I talk about in there is the fact that Luke is worried about something coming in the future. He has this fear and dread and doubt over him about stuff going on inside the galaxy in regards to the dark side. So if I want to damage control for a second before I go into like a rant about why I still don't like it.
Do you, bro? Do you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go full, man. You got to do it. Like, don't sell yourself short on this one.
Damage control wise, you could say that Luke, having fear thrown upon him and thrust upon him via Snoke, potentially, for years, and also directly interfering with Kylo Ren or with Ben Solo, and maybe in the moment in which Luke looked into Ben's future, interceding in that moment and making Luke believe that the future he was seeing was like his father in a sense, the actual future, thus caused him to create said future like with Padme. Okay, that's my damage control version of it. That's me trying to make myself like this. Okay, throw it out the window. Wait, this is not Luke Skywalker, y'all. This is that in The New Hope goes, we gotta rescue the princess. What? She'll pay you money. Oh, how much? That's Han Solo. He didn't want to rescue her, but Luke did. Luke's been off Tatooine for a solid like 20 minutes, and this man's like, well, I mean hyperspace, but whatever. He's been off Tatooine for a bit, and he's already all for wanting to go and save someone. He's an optimistic character. Empire Strikes Back. He's training with Yoda, learning the ways of the Force he's been trying to do for the past 3 years in canon. And he's with one of the greatest Jedi Masters of all time. And he decides, no, I want to go rescue my friends. Yoda even straight up says to him, hey, I don't think you should leave. If you honor what they sacrifice, you want to just let things go. Maybe you should just, I don't know, let them figure it out themselves. Now I'm leaving to go save them. Get my hand cut off. Oh, you're my father. Well, that's crazy. Let's go to episode 6. Luke talking to Obi-Wan. Well, you gotta fight. You gotta kill Vader. I won't kill my father. Well, then the Emperor's already won. Obi-Wan's like, all right, then you don't want to kill him. That's it. But Luke's like, I want to save and rescue him. Luke has a moment of weakness in Return of the Jedi, just to kind of pull it back together, where he almost does full out go against Vader when he cuts off his hand. But then Luke realizes, no, this is my father. I'm not gonna kill him. He backs off from it. So you want to tell us that this man, Luke Skywalker, grows to the point of breaking to where he goes into his nephew's tent one night at the Jedi Temple that Luke's made and peers into Ben's mind and sees this future, and this future scares him enough to the point to grab his lightsaber, ignite it, and then realize, wait a minute, no, this is awful, and turn it back off. Now, I really don't like that. I personally think it's very off kilter. But in terms of what I believe they're trying to go with about a lot of our heroes, and this is a storytelling choice that I don't necessarily like, but I respect in a sense, is they seem to have been wanting to create the characters from our childhood and from people's even childhoods into failures, but to show how even though you fail in some aspects of life, you can still succeed. And it's all, as Star Wars loves to always talk about, from a certain point of view. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's what's happened now, you know? And I think it's really off, and I feel like it doesn't feel like Luke Skywalker, but the thing that's, I think the interesting thing about this film, and people keep on arguing this, is like, well, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how it grows on people, how it changes over time. I've seen the film 3 times. I'm still pretty pissed, but if there's something I'm pretty positive about Lucasfilm, they're making television series about Luke. I just firmly believe that, especially after you make him become one with the Force, you got to be making a television series about Luke. You're either doing that, or you know, we're a soldier about to step into that role as a young Luke Skywalker for a film. But I think they're gonna make this transition make more sense, a la the Clone Wars with Anakin from Episode 2 to 3. And the thing is, then well, I'm gonna get what you're saying with Dan, but I'm gonna drop it off so I can let you go ahead and talk about it for a moment. But while I can't say I'm gonna agree with it, I could see them trying to pad this decision through all their multimedia formats of storytelling, because that's the biggest thing that Star Wars is at the end of the day, and always has been since the 90s, is they've been, in my opinion, the leader of multimedia storytelling and using all these different avenues to create a story. Now, like with the book, though, there are times when stuff separates, but I think the choice to have that moment in The Last Jedi was just to establish that in a wider audience, in terms of that connection. Well, I think, of course, it does contradict, but I think the intent was, we never showed this on screen before. We need to establish this now, even if it goes nowhere. And then I want to talk about like Robert said, I want to talk about why The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, like complaints about The Last Jedi just based off The Force Awakens after we get done with Luke. But since Luke is a big thing that's important, so I know you and me, Danny, I want to both give our 2 cents about it. And I've been just thinking about it a lot. Like, I mean, because like I said, I was depressed when I got the film. I mean, my girlfriend was even saying to me, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so, you know, I buy multiple things. I went to Toys R Us, Target, and Walmart looking for Star Wars stuff afterwards, right? And tell me why I walk into Toys R Us and my first thought in my head is like, I want to throw up. I don't want to buy anything Star Wars. That's how I felt. I was so upset.
It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, man. Like,
and I think
I'm subscribed to like several, like real fast and let you finish. I'm subscribed to like several Star Wars theory YouTube channels. I haven't watched a single video. I don't want to indulge in it. It's like a bad hangover.
Yeah, like it's like I don't. And then my biggest thing too is like, if we're gonna talk like story beats in the film, okay, in my opinion, and this is where I think, just for me, as like as how I'd like to tell stories is different than what Ryan Johnson want to choose. So whatever. But in my opinion, if I have a character, Luke, and this is me being okay with him dying still, if I have a character who's going to go and die, in my opinion, I think it's more powerful and more moving to have the character actually go there in said circumstance. He should actually go to Crate and arrive at Crate in some way, shape, or form, and order, whatever, do whatever it is you have to do, and then have him become one with the Force there if he must die. To me, however, if you the way that like the whole Force apparition thing would have been more powerful would be if he goes through and he does all that, he survives.
Whoa, we lost that.
Wait, what the heck was that?
Just happened.
I don't know.
Did he drop?
No, we're all good. We're all good.
Cool. Heard me say, can go back to it.
What?
Huh?
What was the last thing anyone heard me say before?
Something about if he had gone to Crate and then you just kind of faced on the First Order and then it cut off.
Okay, if you go to Crate, face on the First Order, and you're gonna have him die, in my opinion, that's fine. Go there and do other things and die. If you go the film did, my only issue with him dying is the fact that, to me, that moment is to feel triumphant no matter what.
Yeah.
When Luke goes and says, "See you around, kid," and it's like he's saying something that sounds like what Han would say. It's supposed to be a moment of triumph. You're supposed to go back to Act Two, and yeah, you can have Luke pass out for a moment because it exerted him so much. But then I think it's a moment of triumph where he goes and you see him look out, and he's tired, he's worn out, he's done what he should do. And in a sense, I still see that how they went with the route of him coming and becoming one with the Force in that moment. But to me, I just feel like it's a moment of which he should still sit there, and you should be cheering on. Like maybe if it was me, the final shot of the film could have been Luke sitting there looking off, and he sees the twins.
Oh man.
Damn, he keeps cutting out, man. That check must not have cleared.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
You good, fam?
Man, you know, in a movie, and that's how I feel right
Okay, is it just me or is he kind of cutting out?
Oh, he's cutting out.
A little bit.
Yeah, okay. Adam, leave and come back.
That's good.
You made that man leave.
That's what happened when you got too much woke in one call.
Yo, facts, man.
All right.
Supreme Leader Snoke, Supreme Leader woke.
Here's
Ah,
my issue.
boss.
My issue with the whole thing is that Luke. Okay, I can understand people wanting to make this argument that, you know, oh, people change over time, or this was just a moment of weakness. Here's why I don't think that would happen. Not in this particular case. I don't think it applies as an excuse, and that's that Luke. They keep trying to point to episode 6, especially as the justification for this. I mean, Luke had a moment of weakness there where he actually did cave and almost kill Vader, and this is no different. It's like it kind of is, and here's why. When Luke caves in episode 6 and actually does give into his anger to attack Vader and overpower him like that, it's quite a bit different. Because in that scenario, he is in the middle of a fight for his life. And on top of that, Vader, who has murdered and killed and tortured millions of innocent people, just threatened his sister. Found out that he had a sister. Found out because he foolishly allowed his mind to drift to her while Vader was inside it. So he feels directly responsible for exposing the fact that she exists to him. And then he talks about, if you won't be turned, perhaps she will. And he knows exactly how he would intend to turn her. You know, and that is where he snaps and assaults him like that. In the middle of a fight, and just, you know, and he does lose his temper. And this is against someone who has, you know, done all this stuff, like actually done it. Not could potentially do it. He's actually done it. And when he says he'll do it again, you know, it's not above reproach to think, you know, he might actually mean that. When it comes to Ben is a kid asleep in his tent, you know, and he peers in there and he sees like a possible future. And when he pops that saber and thinks, you know, maybe I should kill him now and prevent that from happening, that's significantly different from, you know, freaking out over.
You just gave me a thought, though, that kind of makes me angry, but it kind of makes me sit here and go, huh. Okay, I could see a way this could work now, because the only thing is that, like, Luke says, I saw everything I love, everything I cherish, and he would all take it away from me. If Luke saw Kylo kill Han, Leia, the New Republic, his Jedi Order, things that would make him snap in that moment of weakness. So
yes and no, and the reason. Well, I mean, the thing that gets me is that this is also a Luke that was a Luke at the time who was still relatively green. He, you know, I mean, that was his final test to be a Jedi. He was still a Padawan when all that happened. You know, versus a Luke who's had years more of experience, a Luke who's had time to mature, a Luke who's had time to. You know, this is basically implying that in the 30 years between the Return of the Jedi and well, not quite 30 years, probably what at that point, maybe 20, if even.
Yeah, but Oh my
that
gosh.
he has not grown or matured hardly at all in that time.
I even oh shit. You just inadvertently actually made me okay with this somewhat now.
Uh-oh.
No, because what I'm even thinking
We
of
got it. We got
Legends
the
Luke
real
would have done
plot twist here.
Legends Luke would have done
for
the same
real.
thing.
No, see, yeah, and I wasn't okay with it there either. That was not.
Whoa, wait a minute.
No,
Uh-oh.
no.
Oh, no, this ain't good. This ain't good. This ain't good.
Adam, you ain't gonna do this. No.
What a twist.
Well, I mean, I'm not okay with it, but I'm more understanding of it now, though.
No, I am not understanding of it, not even a tiny bit. And
this is a conundrum. What have we gotten ourselves into?
I want you to keep talking. I need to think it through. Because this doesn't pause. This doesn't save the movie for me. Because it's
no.
Okay with that somewhat.
No, not okay. And here's why: because they then further regress his development. Because first and foremost, not only do they essentially make it that he has not matured in that way in all that time. Second of all, what they did in Legends was actually quite a bit different in that particular case, he did have a wife. And she was murdered, and that is what started pushing him. But that's also why he took a step back and realized, you know what,
that's later Legends. I'm talking like when Luke was starting the New Jedi Order. I'm talking the Jedi Academy trilogy, like Jedi Search, Dark Apprentice, and
yeah, but that was a problem in there too, man. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of that trilogy, much as I do like it, is that there were moments with Luke where he was actually quite a bit out of character. In fact, a few characters were. That's not even touching on the fact that the Sun Crusher was a ridiculously overpowered weapon and should not have existed. But it was so weird because in a way, in order to do this kind of thing, you do kind of have to regress Luke a little bit. Like you have to make him take a few steps back and make him to the same level of maturity that he was in the original trilogy. I can't be okay with that here because he has had years more of experience and he has had years more of being, able to strengthen himself. And the idea that he, even for a fleeting moment like that, like, I can understand him, considering it, like in the back of his mind. I can understand that, but for him to actually whip that thing out and turn it on, that.
Well, here's my question though. Here's my question. What made Luke decide to go to his tent that night? What transpired before Luke went so far as to peer into Ben's mind while he was sleeping? Something had to happen that would have triggered Luke to go that far anyway. Luke also talks about the fact of, Luke was cocky and somewhat arrogant, though, too, which I think is fine to think that he would have gotten at time because, I mean, if taking his quote about the thing with Rey and Ben, about, like, I've seen this type of power before, it didn't scare me enough then, though it does now. Luke felt probably very confident in himself because he felt confident about everything he had overcome, everything he had overcame with himself as a Force user and as a Jedi. But the thing that I can think of is because when we see him in this film, this is after, because what happens with Ben happens at least 7 years before The Force Awakens, or at least 6 or 7 years before The Force Awakens. Because it happens in between the time of Bloodline and The Force Awakens. Okay, before during Bloodline, Luke's been sketching out anyway about something going on, and he can't figure out what it is, and that's why he keeps his Jedi Temple also hidden from the rest of the galaxy because he also doesn't want them to meddle in political affairs and things like that. And then Ben also gets triggered partially because Leia and Han and Luke never told him that Anakin was his grandfather and that Darth Vader was his grandfather. He knew who Darth Vader was, but they never told him that he was his grandfather. And then Snoke is manipulating all this in a similar way into what Palpatine was doing.
Well, you know what? That would mean a damn thing if, they did anything with Snoke.
That's the thing I don't understand. To interject for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold
Chris.
up.
I actually have a full defense against that.
Yeah, because here's the thing.
No.
Okay.
Chris, go ahead.
Okay. So here's one of my biggest problems with The Last Jedi. It's kind of a thing an issue I had with a lot of the DCEU movies is they kind of expect you to give a damn about the situation. Like you're supposed to assume that these things have happened. You're supposed to assume so much about the characters to explain why they're so radically different and to explain the events that transpired. And I just don't think that's good world building. I don't think it's the characters deserve it first and foremost. And especially like with a character such as Snoke, like one of the things people have been thrown around a lot is they actually like Snoke because he's not the Emperor, because they didn't go down the Emperor route, because it was unexpected. And I'm tired of just because people were shocked that it was different, that's some type of justification to, okay, this is why we did it. Because the Fantastic Four reboot, that shocked us in a lot of ways. That doesn't mean it was good.
Yeah, I hate that excuse from people. That's always the dumbest reason you can give as to why something is good, because it's shocking. Shock value is good in a fleeting moment. Shock value is not good in terms of good film storytelling, because it's just, or in terms of good storytelling period, just because it doesn't necessarily do anything that really strengthens the plot. It just is a moment of oh, hey, wow, look at this. Wow, look what we did. And doing it for purpose.
Context is key. Context is definitely key in that situation. Like when Vader threw the Emperor over, that was so unexpected. But when it happened, it's like, oh my God.
Unless you watch it's just 2011 Blu-rays, then it's like,
boy, if you don't, I don't acknowledge anything after the original editions. Nope.
Well,
nope.
The reason for that too is because, the reason that is, is unexpected but memorable and actually meant something is because there was a lot of build up to it, and you get the sense of, it symbolizes Anakin essentially finally overcoming his fear and his self-hatred, and it's like that is your son. That is the son that you found out that you had. You failed his mother. Don't fail him. You failed yourself. Don't fail him. And so he run over there, picked up the man that terrified him. I mean, that's the whole thing. The entire thing about the Emperor and why it's okay that he was essentially just a man in the shadows for the longest time is not only the gravitas that was brought to him by really good writing and dialogue and a really great performance, but Vader. I mean, we were sold on Vader from the first movie. We only ever heard the Emperor existed in passing dialogue. We were focused on Vader. Vader scared us. He intimidated us. He was an imposing figure. He established himself as one of the most badass of badass villains. Okay? And so when the Emperor does show up finally in episode 5, even though it's just in that hologram, when you hear this commanding, killer, angry, don't take no crap from nobody guy kneeling, he is kneeling in front of this figure. He is speaking in a reserved and timid voice. He is, yes, my master. Of course, my master. Or perhaps, he doesn't say, no, I don't want to do that because I want to do this. He says, I will do what you wish. But maybe, possibly, would it be better if instead of killing him, I maybe got him to serve you?
But that's he can be changed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like Vader went from being this commanding, imposing figure to looking so timid in front of this guy. And that's what sells him, because if somebody that strong, that powerful, that badass and commanding on screen just suddenly turns into a timid servant in front of this guy, it not only shows you exactly how powerful that guy has to be and how much respect he has to command, but it also shows you, exactly how much this guy has to fear him. And so when that comes full circle in episode 6, where he has to choose between, saving his son or giving into his fear and continuing to serve his master, or save his son and face the one man in the entire galaxy that he is absolutely terrified of. I mean, they really did a good job in the Darth Vader comic too. The new one, the one that started this year.
Oh, that was great.
It picks up right where episode 3 leaves off. In fact, it actually has the part where he screams and crushes everything in the med bay, and the Emperor is like, kind of like, okay, yes, that happened, and I'm so sorry, but we're going to move on from that. But then he's like, oh, but Lord Vader, and then he literally beats the hell out of Vader for a second there, using the Force. He basically force pimp slapped him, then gets in his face and growls, "If you ever reach out and touch me through the Force again, you are dead." You know, and this kind of thing. It cements exactly how powerful he is and how much Vader is afraid of him. And so when he does finally overcome that fear for the sake of his son, it's what makes that moment that much more powerful. You know, you never get a moment like that with Snoke. When Kylo Ren finally does turn on him and kill him like that, first of all, it's done in a way that's almost comical because he's monologuing, you know? Oh, I am inside his head. I can see his every will. I can see him turning the blade on. I can see him preparing to strike. You know, and then it's like, oh, no. Oh, okay, I'm in half now. I'm dead. Goodbye. That's it.
I'm dead.
Can I grab the mic about this for a second before we get too far deep into it? Because
Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Oh.
But what did we know about Palpatine when Episode 6 originally came
I
out?
was about to say, because
here's my only thing. Everything you're saying, Danny, I totally agree with. But let's talking canons first, and I'll even go legends. Canon, Vader comic release date 2017. Episode 6, 83.
Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. You're arguing. Hear me out. No, I know what you're trying to say, dude. But you're making an argument that I haven't even made yet, dude. Okay.
Just hear me out. I'm not saying it's necessarily effective or a good way to do it, that we didn't have enough care for Snoke yet. But in all honesty, Palpatine really didn't become this really good character, and I love Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film, in terms of in personal enjoyment. Palpatine had really not become an interesting character that you really had any understanding of all the gravitas and everything you're talking about with until the prequel trilogy.
Well,
that's one of the graces of the prequel trilogy. Is him along with Ian McGregor or some of those are some really good performances that really make those characters into what we see them as in the original trilogy.
All right,
that was where George Lucas did a good job.
I'm going to say this right now. I don't agree with that at all, and here's why.
Here we go.
Everything I just said. That right there is what lent the Emperor gravitas, even though he was a character who did not have a lot of screen time, a big presence, or even much backstory. You were scared of this guy because the guy
weren't scared of Snoke?
No, I was not scared of Snoke. Not in this movie. I was scared of him. He was an imposing figure. He was an imposing figure. He was an imposing figure in Episode 7, but that was purely because of what he could be. It was all potential. The thing is, though, Palpatine, while he had a lot of what he could be, was like gravitas because someone like Darth Vader, someone that I was scared of this guy. You know the guy who says, he's you're afraid of the boogeyman. Well, this is the guy the boogeyman's afraid of. That's what Palpatine was. That was why, even when all I had was the original trilogy, I was scared of Palpatine. I was fascinated by Palpatine because even though I didn't know much about him, just the fact that Vader himself and the way he was set up lent fear to him, lent credence to him. And yes, while it was great that they went back and explored that with the prequel trilogy, at the same time, you knew that something happened way back when that could lead up to this, and there was nothing that we had before that. So
not
it's like
on the level of what we saw.
No, not on the level.
Based off what we were given in the original trilogy, I think Snoke is just slightly less scary, mainly due to Kylo Ren and people not being scared of Kylo Ren and people not thinking Kylo Ren's an adversary. However, my thing is this. everyone's theories about Snoke, no matter who he was, all felt like Snoke was going to be the big person that Luke goes up against. And that in itself, to me, says the amount of power that Snoke had. Snoke also, based off multiple moments throughout The Force Awakens, was shown to have been a key part into why everything is the way it is now in these 30-year time span gap of why things are the way they are. Snoke was the one that all the First Order was reporting back to. Snoke was the one that helped save the Empire based off what we could assume from The Force Awakens is the one that was to keep the Empire alive through the First Order. Snoke then too, and what we see of him in The Last Jedi is scary in the sense that the first moment we see him is through a hologram, and he's nowhere around, and he literally throws Hux to the ground and drags him across the floor.
I'm going to stop you right there. That was not scary. That was freaking comical. That ruined that scene. If he had just picked his ass up off the floor and choked him or something, that would have been scary. Because you know what? That's like what Vader did times 10. But the fact that he didn't do that, and he starts spinning him around and yanking him around. That was almost slapstick tier humor, man. I did not find that scary.
That's all in the holder's eye. In my opinion, that's really scary when you have, because for two reasons to me it was scary in the sense of like I wasn't actually scared, but in the sense like it's intimidating. The fact that Hux is like, okay, I'm gonna go take it in my quarters. Goes to leave. Snoke's like, F that. We're taking this message right now. You haven't been bringing any of the results I wanted you to bring. He flows him to the ground, and yeah, he drags him across the floor. And then when Hux pulls his head up, Hux has busted his lip and is bleeding. It's a visual. If you play that scene with, it's still a visually horrifying moment. He's nowhere to be around with that. Then when you see him later, you see Kylo Ren, which I'm not starting this argument, but I'm just want to use it for the example's sake. Kylo Ren have the backbone to stand up against Snoke for a second, thinks he can try to do anything. He has all that anger and that frustration, and stabs him with Force lightning that flings him back away, and then sits back down, and Kylo doesn't do anything with it. The whole thing is that Snoke is very powerful, and we see that.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. The problem is, first and foremost, that's empty power. First and foremost. Second of all, I never
define empty power.
Empty power in that he's got power, sure, but it's not done in a way that I felt was ever intimidating. I was never even close to as scared of Snoke as I was the Emperor.
Danny, I'm gonna let you finish. But I'm gonna be real honest with you. Did you still have not seen this movie? How can you tell me something? I
have seen this movie. Okay. Why do you think I haven't seen this movie?
Because I thought you had just said you hadn't seen the whole movie yet.
No, I saw like most of it, yeah, and I saw the Snoke scenes.
Pause. Does the word most equal complete? I need someone to grab me a dictionary real quick.
Okay, son, you want to tell me what happened at Canto Bite's supposed to change my entire opinion on what happens with Snoke in this movie?
Canto Bite's basically an episode of Rebels put in live action form. That's my opinion on Canto Bite.
Well, you know what? That ain't gonna mean jack crap in my interpretation of Snoke. Period, man. That's my point. Now, what I am saying here, though, is that there is nothing that happens in the context of this film. And yes, I did watch all the Snoke stuff. Nothing that happens in those scenes really ever gave me the impression that he was intimidating. And the fact that the way he dies, too, like I said, he goes out monologuing. Like, it's done in a way that's almost a comical undercut of everything that he is saying, and then he's just gone. And you know what? If they had earned that in this movie, I would be okay with it. But I think it's slightly.
I've come to the point that I think that moment is actually earned in the sense that it is. Hear me out. The only. I'm honest with that. It's the only red herring from The Force Awakens that I'm okay with.
Matt, you know what? You are the only person I know that will legitimately shill for a movie that he talks about he hates.
I didn't say I hate the film. I said it strongly upset me.
Okay. My bad.
I've never said
strongly upset.
thing is, I haven't got to talk about the points that like I have no defense for. But what I'm saying is literally that the thing with Snoke, I can somewhat be okay with that.
The thing with Snoke, I cannot forgive. I just can't. Not after everything that they did with him in The Force Awakens. Not with that's the other thing that pisses me off. Red herrings in film are a bad storytelling move when you do it with a central character.
Central character is in the eye of the beholder.
No, he was a central character. Dude, come on. Do not even play Eye of the Beholder with me here. You know that everything they were doing was setting up Snoke as a vital, important.
When we watched I'm making a bold statement, so we'll find out come 2019. But when we watch the three of these films as a trilogy, I think the Snoke one is going to be an okay thing to have a passing as of an importance of a character.
I'm still not sold on Kylo Ren as a villain yet. I'm not.
I'm sold on Kylo Ren as a villain because, in my opinion, Kylo Ren has always been more interesting.
He's interesting, but not as a villain. It's the same thing with Venom. Everyone keeps talking about how Venom's such an interesting villain. No, as a villain, Venom was extremely one-dimensional.
No, I think Venom is very much
Kylo Ren as a villain sucks right now.
No,
he still does.
I think Venom is as interesting as Snoke. He's just interesting because he seems like he's cool. He seems powerful, and he seems like it'd be really cool to see him in a fight scene. That's it. There's nothing else that seems really interesting about him that's present to the current storyline besides his backstory about how he got to this point.
And I really don't have any
that makes him interesting. Kylo Ren in the moment is a live action, better written Jason Solo.
No, he's not. Oh my God, no, he's not. Not even close, man. No.
The New Jedi Order, for better or worse, ruined the Solo twins, in a sense.
Nah, man. I'm sorry. No, he is not better written.
I think he's better written in terms of him being more interesting and more seen and more. The fact of this, look, honestly, what would have pissed more people off, in your opinion? If he kills Snoke and then he and Rey leave and and then they go and they leave and the Resistance leaves and he flees from the First Order or whatever, would that have been more interesting? And would that have been a better storytelling? Or the fact that after we have that moment where it seems, and that's the thing where sometimes fake outs, and I think when it's done well, is good. In the moment of the thing with Snoke happening, it seems like, oh, wow. And then I felt kind of upset because I was mad because I'm like, well, damn, Luke really had no faith in him. But Rey does. They're trying to make Rey seem like this person that can really tell things through the Force better than Luke. I was frustrated. But then they have that duel, they team up, and then everything ends, and then you're like, okay, I guess they're cool now. And then it's like, nope, no, we're not. I want you to join me. I mean, I think we're doing things right. We should burn down everything from the past.
No,
and I think that's very interesting that after all that, Ben still decides to burn everything down.
I'd have bought that if we'd had, a significant time skip and this wasn't all taking place immediately after the events of the last movie. And that is what I mean when I say they didn't earn this. This happens almost right away. As of The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren was coming up as a very immature, untrained, ill-prepared kid. And nothing that really happens in The Last Jedi establishes him beyond that, except for the fact that, he killed Snoke and he's going to run it now. No, that is not significant character development. That is not earning that. It is still not selling this character to me as someone who is ready to do that. If they had done that in the next movie, heck, if they had even done that in the very beginning of the next movie, it would be more believable than this. Or if they had, at the very least, like I said, had a time skip here, then I could have bought it.
I think that's why episode 8 to 9 is going to have a time skip, though.
Well, yeah, maybe. That's the problem. It has to now.
Maybe. Look,
in terms of character progression, in terms of world building, this movie tries to do so much that it does not earn, and it really, really does nothing to really move half these characters forward. And it certainly does almost nothing in terms of world building. And that's what I can't handle about that. Like I think that's what frustrates me more than anything. I could see maybe some good ideas in there. It's just they are executed so badly or so prematurely. Like it's like Rian Johnson could not wait to do this stuff. He couldn't wait to set it up. He couldn't bear the idea of setting it up for someone else to complete it. He had this really cool idea, and he had to be the one to do it. And he was only directing this one movie, so bam, there it happens in my movie.
So what you're saying is this is a DC movie.
Well, it feels like it.
Shit.
Man.
Oh,
Stupid, right?
yo, why do I have this? Feels just like the end of Batman Kill Joke, where they're just laughing out of nowhere.
And then like
Oh,
Danny
man.
walks up and strangles me and kills me.
Man,
That's what I was about to say.
Yes, exactly.
Then there's going to be speculation
It
about
even
whether
has the
Danny
really
killed him or
long,
not.
out of place scenes and everything with the whole Canto Bight subplot.
No,
Hey, there you go.
The Canto Bright pause. You can't talk about it. You just said you didn't watch it. The Canto
He
Bright
said, "Pause. I'm done."
The Canto Bright plot point. I agree. It's very poor. I'm sorry, Pablo. Whatever you want to say, man. You're right. In context and in universe, when does a general ever have to give a reason for their orders? They don't. But I'm sorry. In storytelling, I think it's really kind of silly that Poe Dameron, based off what's been established, as a strong figure in the Resistance, if he is worried about the fact that you just gave orders with no idea what our plan is, when we know we're low on fuel, we know we are the only ship out here, we know we can't jump to light speed, you could tell Poe what the plan is. You could have told the whole crew what the plan was. I didn't see what the problem was in telling them. So I'm sorry. That's one thing that I totally will not forgive about that film. In that moment, I see that as no point. And I don't care. And people want to turn it into like a sexist like debate. I don't care if Hodo had been a man. I don't care if Poe had been a woman. I don't care about any of that stuff. I think it is stupid that you mean to tell me a poster boy of the first, of the Resistance. Not even that. You mean to tell me you guys are in this bad of a situation? You literally are basically all that's left of the spark of the, we are the spark that will light.
Oh man, I loved that quote.
I still do love that quote, but the quote's basically just a rewrote line written from straight up from the first season of Rebels. You mean to tell me you can't just tell them that that's what the plan is? Are you worried that someone on the ship is going to snitch you out to the First Order? Like, that's the only excuse you can.
Yo, can we just talk about how they were?
Every single person has pointed that out.
Can I talk about this?
That is one thing.
Can we talk about this for a second?
With that though, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, with that scene, it really feels like that there was supposed to be a subplot. That there was like a spy or something in the middle of all that, and then they just kind of dropped it at some point and decided not to go with it, and didn't rewrite around it. Well, and that actually would have made that make sense, and it would have made things a lot more interesting. But
from what I understand, they actually did reshoot scenes with Hodo because she was originally too much of a hard ass, and she came off as being too much of a dick to Poe. Based off,
to be honest, Poe was even annoying in that for part of the movie. I don't know, man. Everyone in that movie just came off as irritating.
The biggest thing,
especially every male in the movie.
Man,
ironically,
oh shit.
The biggest thing that gets me about this entire movie, too,
Mm-hmm.
it's like not even the plot stuff. I mean, the plot stuff does get me, and I really think that from a writing standpoint, a lot of this is like it feels like a first draft in a lot of ways. But for me, it's the characterization and just it feels less like they're writing these characters how they are in this universe and continuing their arcs from the first movie. And in a lot of places, like even if it's ways where you can find a way to maybe justify it, instead of finding a way to progress naturally to it, you're writing them in a way that's convenient for the moment, for this part of the thing that you want to do in the movie. Like Poe, I can understand Poe getting kind of cocky after Starkiller. I could. But again, that would sell to me so much better if this was a case of like well, first of all, it would sell to me so much better that the First Order still had this much military might if it had been a while after that. But just the idea of,
they had ships out in the unknown regions, and I
know, but it's like when they have all these ships, including this Dreadnought class, including this Omega Star Destroyer and the Supremacy,
which is Snoke's base has been though. That's where Snoke's been operating for years, though.
Yes, I know, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like if they had all that, Starkiller really seems superfluous, and blowing it up really wasn't quite the blow to it that we thought it was. See, one of the things that really excited me about The Force Awakens is just the premise that, the New Republic is gone. Almost all of its fleet, except for maybe a small percentage of it, is gone. But at the same time, the First Order, they just got kicked in the teeth, so they're going to be reeling for a bit too. And now the galaxy is aware of the fact that, hey, our leadership is gone. But at the same time, these guys over here can't do anything quite yet, but our leadership's gone. And this war that we've been in denial about happening for years now is finally coming to a head, and it's no longer a Cold War, it's public. They're just the sandbox that gives you to play in, really.
I think that will come back around at 9.
Oh,
to be honest. And I agree with you on that. I mean, if I go from being Adam to damage control Adam, would go. It was like 5
Damage
days.
control rushing into the ring.
It was about 5 days in between then. So you think about the 5 days they started evacuating and stuff, and they got the ship.
Well, wow.
Because honestly, all I can say about like all those plot points is that it makes a lot of sense. The only thing is that like universe now, I guess. The only thing that makes sense is the fact that like they really did demilitarize, like to an idiotic point.
Okay, well, see here.
Also, on a side note, I just want to say something real quick that like irks me about the film in terms of this whole thing about hope. I'm sorry if a lot of the galaxy at the time of the Force Awakens, at the time of this trilogy, Leia, but you mean to tell me after the destruction of Starkiller Base, after the destruction of the New Republic, all this stuff, that when Leia sends out her personal encrypted message about a stress beacon, that nobody comes to show up?
Oh, I know. She was the one who was always saying this was happening. Now the entire galaxy knows it's happening. And the only person who was having the balls to admit, hey, this is the thing that's happening, is saying that, hey, we need to rally and beat these guys. Nobody's going to show up. Nobody with any kind of private ships. Nobody, no recruitment whatsoever. And see, that's the thing, too. It's like, like in terms of even the First Order's might, like I will give you the supremacy because Snoke is that extra that yes, he would have had that on hand anyway. The reason that I feel like them having all the other ships is excessive, though, is just the fact that, like, it implies that again, Starkiller was just a completely superfluous project that was done almost like a vanity project, and so when that got destroyed, it's like, okay, well then we're done playing around. Let's go bring our full military might. Which, if they had done that in the first place,
I think it's a thing of like the First Order is very dumb, and it's very much stuff they've talked about before. So that First Order just wants to do everything bigger and badder than the Empire. They built bigger Star Destroyers. They built bigger Super Star Destroyer. They build not ships, all this other stuff. There's things that they were building and trying to improve on, and like the Imperial Walkers. The new Walkers aren't even necessarily better. They're just bigger. Same with Starkiller Base. Starkiller Base is just a bigger Death Star.
Well, don't you kind of think that, to some respect, don't you kind of think, Adam, that was kind of the point? It was meant to be meta. I mean, look at what Han said in The Force Awakens when they pulled up the comparison between the freaking Death Star and Starkiller Base, and he was just like, "So it's bigger." Like, wasn't that kind of the point?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think when it comes to the First Order, I think that's the fact that they have more Star Destroyers and more ships still, and that that Starkiller Base was this big thing that they had still, and it was superficial. I think that was intended. I think that's
maybe that was intended, but just like I don't know, the entire impression I got of the First Order coming into the Force Awakens and in reading like the supplemental stuff and especially the first issue of the Poe comic is that, at first they were like pretty similar to the Resistance in that they were kind of a small splinter group that kind of rose up. And so, yeah, I understand them having more resources, but like just the sheer amount of resources it would take to make Starkiller Base and the supremacy, alone.
Starkiller Base is Ilum. They haven't told us yet, but if Starkiller Base is Ilum, it'd just be refitting to use the planet core to end up turning it into a super weapon, which I couldn't find being that hard based off the only thing I'll give the Canto Bright scene, which is that a lot of people in the galaxy after the destruction of the Empire and the foundation of the New Republic is all about profiteering off of and people's insecurities, albeit the First Order trying to regain power, the Empire trying to regain power through becoming the First Order, and then the Resistance trying to combat that. That's the only good thing thing that comes out of the whole Canto Bright subplot is that it establishes the fact that there are people in the galaxy that full well know what's going on, but it's to make it, I think, to relate to kind of like our world, and it's that if people can benefit from others' misfortunes, they will, because as long as they're doing well, that's all that matters.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to deny that there's some like Cold War parallels here. I mean, there were in The Force Awakens, there are now, but it's just a case of, I mean, at this point, it really feels like instead of being like a resistance against like an up and coming faction within the old empire, instead of that, it really feels like they're just supposed to be this tiny little group of people taking on suddenly a group that's meant to be as big as almost the Empire was. And I don't know, just again, like a time skip, that having them, kind of fall back and recover and then say, okay, screw it, we're done playing subtle, we're mass invading.
You going through a wind tunnel, Rob?
I think you might have fallen asleep on the scene.
Oh shit!
Nah, I was yawning.
Okay.
But like,
not because of y'all. It's just I've been up for a while.
So much of this movie, I think, where it is like Poe having gotten cocky because he took down Starkiller Base and he's kind of let that go to his head over time, or the First Order coming back with like a much bigger force. I think even if they had given us like not a year or not even a full year, like 6 months even, like between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, that span of time would have helped sell a lot of what they're trying to do in this movie so much better than this insistence that it has to pick up right where the last one left off. Like, or at the very least, like if you want to do it that way, what I thought they were going to do with that, honestly, when I saw what was going on in this movie, is I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought we were going to start with Luke and Rey on Ahch-To. I thought that we were going to, immediately pick up from there. He was going to be reluctant to train her. She was going to be pestering him to train her. He'd finally kind of cave in, and then we'd have a time skip, and she'd have been training this whole time, and now things have gotten like this out here. I figured that was hopefully what they were going to do, because that would make a lot of sense, like narrative-wise, it would explain why they've been able to regroup, why they have bigger ships, why they have, all this stuff that, and I don't know, just to me, like, this is like, I guess you could say a personal thing, although I honestly think that it did hurt the narrative to just try to cram this all, like, right there. Like, if they, not even specifically the way I'm saying, okay? Like, they don't even have to do it that way. Again, I'm not married to anything I just said. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm just saying, for example, I think that could have helped this movie sell a lot of the world around it a lot more than, just a few days later.
That's fair. And the thing is, like, I mean, honestly, I agree with you on that. I don't know how much longer it is. From what I understand, they want to give the trip to Ahch-To takes a lot longer than what we think. Okay? And the film is made, of course, to play off of making it seem as if things are playing off each other one another. But no matter what we do see is however long it takes to get to Ahch-To, that takes to the time in between with Resistance also has time to start evacuating Starkiller Base. They get the Starhawk to the planet from, I forget exactly where. That's the ship that Leia has, the Mon Calamari cruiser, the Starhawk thing. And then also with all that, there's then the fact that they escape, and then they also have a time when they do go into hyperspace too, and they're traveling still for some time.
Well, yeah, but okay, here's the reason that's an issue too. It was actually a problem in the original trilogy too. The reason for that is, like, if on a meta level, and I think they kind of need to come out and do what they did there too. Like, on a meta level, we now know, because they revealed that chase through hyperspace, with Han and Leia and everything, took quite a while, and especially when they did the jump to Bespin, because they were doing it on like low power. It was supposed to take like a couple weeks to get there.
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, they didn't even jump through hyperspace. They were traveling all just flying through space. Remember the hyperdrive was broken. They couldn't even jump.
Well, there you go. I mean that there, we find out this stuff though, and it's one of those things where, like, in the movie, you know, realistically that's going to take longer, but it doesn't really tell you how much time has passed. We had to kind of get told that, which helped sell it more. Sure. Outside of that, they're going to have to do that again here because, again, we're not getting any kind of really like major indicator of exactly how much time is passing through all this. But even then, you know, when most of the movie is, you know, hyperspace jumps and hyperspace jumps in this part of it, like, it still doesn't feel like anything's happening. So there you have the opposite problem where, like, before it feels like, you know, too much is happening in too short a span of time.
Right.
But now it's starting to feel like not enough is happening in what you would assume would probably be a longer span of time.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying with that. You know, something I think, because I want to move our conversation along, if it's something I think we should touch on real quick though, is like what Robert was talking about earlier in terms of all the different all the things from the Force Awakens to the Last Jedi that just makes it feel really off. What you're saying, Danny, is also one of them. But the things I want to talk about with it is also the fact of, like, the big things, you know, the big questions that we talked about 2 years ago.
Well, you know, the Snoke stuff definitely does still bother me there.
Yeah, and that's fine. I totally understand that. The Snoke stuff, like I said, because my thing is, I've talked to many people about the thing that, like, my issue is that everything from the Force Awakens becomes a red herring. What happened was J.J. Abrams left all these things open-ended to allow the next person in line to be able to tell an interesting story with it. What I find that upsets me is I feel like Rian Johnson did not tell any story involving any of those plot points and threads and made them all into red herrings as a way to tell stories about what he wanted to do instead.
Exactly. There you go.
Facts.
That's it right there.
That's an issue. I'm okay with Rey being related to nobody. I've come to actually be okay with that over the past couple of days. What I've come to realize is I'm saying for myself. What I've come to realize is my true issue is that if Rey is related to nobody, okay, there's a lot of things in The Force Awakens that just doesn't work out. Still, I still firmly believe that, but she can't be related to nobody and be powerful in the Force.
Well, I mean,
she doesn't get trained. We also skip the third lesson with Luke. We never see Luke's third lesson, which there's a deleted scene of his third lesson. However, based off how deleted scenes are dealt with, will that actually be used, or will J.J. Abrams go the route of having Luke's third lesson be from another role, you know, from another realm of the Force, from Luke being a Force ghost? Who knows? But there was a third lesson. We never saw that. I don't get the fact that also too
the third lesson is there is no lesson.
Kylo Ren doesn't do any. That's the other thing too. Rey learns nothing from Luke. She goes to train with Luke. She doesn't really learn anything besides history, and that's the one issue with Rey in this film for me too. Rey is my favorite character of the new trilogy, but in this film, for the first time since she isn't a Skywalker, apparently, it really felt like Ben is the main character. Because the other thing is, Rey, in my opinion, in this film, my issue with her character is she doesn't do anything that isn't meant to help the other characters progress forward in their story arcs. Rey progresses Kylo Ren's story arc. Rey progresses Luke's story arc.
Oh, well, you know, that's another case of a red herring then. You think Rey's the main character, but it's not. It's Kylo Ren.
But that's speaking of characters got shafted. Can we talk about?
Wait. Let's let Adam finish this
man.
Dang it.
I mean that's I definitely want to talk about Finn, but that's all. But then all those things too were like set to be like a thing. You know, we thought Rey's parents were supposed to be a thing in her lineage. Okay, the whole film. I mean, I'm sorry, I use trailers to put my bases in what I believe was original plot lines, but I'm sorry. I still, to this day, will believe that Rey was originally meant to be a Skywalker, based off interviews with Kathleen Kennedy from the time of The Force Awakens, before it came out with Daisy Ridley, based off Daisy Ridley saying Rey's parents from the film, based off J.J. Abrams saying that they aren't, then going back and saying, well, that's not true. I just said that it isn't revealed that her parents from The Force Awakens. Also, based off the fact that, I'm sorry, the lightsaber, you don't have a lightsaber call out to somebody and then talk about this is Luke's lightsaber. It was his father before his, and now it's calling to you. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
Come on. Exactly.
Plain as day right there. Plain as day.
And also too, I love how like the whole Obi-Wan, the Kenobi stuff. I thought they give the two biggest slaps to that in the film. But to me, is there's three big slaps to Rey's parents in the film. The first slap is that you never hear anything with Obi-Wan in this entire film, except for the fact that a great Jedi Master trained Darth Vader. That's the only thing you hear about Obi-Wan in this film. The disrespect.
So, well, then why'd we hear his voice in the last movie?
Well, that's
then?
what I'm saying. Like, I felt like
Exactly.
it was literal slaps. The next slap is, I'm gonna put them in order of like least disrespectful to most disrespectful. The next slap is when Rey and Kylo do the whole force pull for the lightsaber, and it rips in two. And
Yep.
the final slap.
We had so many questions regarding that thing too. Like
The final slap to me literally made me somewhat laugh in my head because I felt so disrespected. Was when Kylo says to her, "You know who your parents are. Say it." And then she starts crying, and she's like, "They're nobody. Like they're scavengers, junkers. They sold you for scrap. Your parents, they were no one." I felt like he was.
I feel like that was
Adam
a
Driver. I feel like Adam Driver was talking to the audience, going,
Yo.
"You know Rey's parents. You know who they are. Yeah, come on. You know who they are. They're nobody.
I was half expecting
They're nobody."
give her a swirly something. But anyway, no. What interests me about that though is I do know the dynamic they're going for. I just think they could go for it a lot better. Like the thing that they're trying to do here is that first and foremost, she's like, okay. First, let me just get my thoughts on this. I'm actually okay with Rey being a nobody. Like, I don't necessarily think that it technically violates too much in The Force Awakens, simply because I just assumed that it meant that Rey was being called to by the Force via that because it was strong in the Force. I didn't necessarily buy into the whole it must be a family connection thing. I thought it was because, like a lot of Force artifacts, if someone is strong in the Force, they can feel it calling to them, you know? I didn't necessarily think that meant that she had to be a Skywalker or a Solo or anything like that.
Fair.
Now, or presumably it could have just been trying to get back to Luke and knew that she was a way to do that. I don't know. But, I mean, I could buy that, you know? And again, like, I can understand what they're going for there. Anybody can rise up and become a hero when they're needed to. The thing that I don't like about it is, again, the way they're kind of going about it and the whole, you know, hey, guess what? Your parents are nobody, you know, but with me, you could be somebody. I don't quite like that because it seems less to me like a natural character thing and more like a really weak attempt at a romance.
Yeah. Which was plain as day they tried to force it.
I mean, honestly, not to get too far off track, and I know we're going to talk about Finn in a second here, but that's kind of what the whole Finn Rose thing felt like. Like, I don't necessarily 100% object to it, but it just feels like, you know, they were aware that a lot of people like the idea of Finn and Rey as a couple, and that was just kind of his way of kicking that idea down and saying, nope, not going to happen.
Oh, you mean like every other idea people had about this movie that Rian Johnson surgically decimated?
Well, I mean, that's why I just feel bad for JJ because I'm sorry. I've been defending JJ for the past 2 years. I don't care what anybody says. Shout out to my boy Trent, New Hope 2.0 looking ass. Honestly, I think JJ did a good job, no matter what people say. I am sad that he turned down doing episode 8 because I would have been totally fine for JJ Abrams' trilogy. I'm gonna be honest with you.
He should have went ahead and just dunked all that on his own.
I kind of feel like there's a reason he wanted to come back and do 9.
Well, here's the thing, though. From what I understand, and the thing is, I can't say it's true because none of this is from a horse's mouth for sure. But from what I understood happened was when they fired Colin, do 9, and he turned 9 down because he wanted to focus on doing his new trilogy sooner. Then they asked JJ. So, also, my joking opinion is that Ryan was like, it's too hard, y'all. JJ, you can take this, bro. Yo, I'm gonna take
he was fine breaking all the toys when someone else had to pick up the pieces, but now that he has to work with that, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's me joking. But like honestly, I don't.
Oh, it wouldn't shock me.
I just think it's.
Man, I kind of get that vibe.
JJ, but the cool thing with JJ coming in though is that like honestly, if certain plot points felt really strong to JJ. In because the thing is that like while Rian Johnson seemingly closes the door on some things, it's not slammed shut. There seems to be a romance between Finn and Rose. However, I'm just gonna say something about I want to talk about my man Finn. So we're gonna go into this, and I'm gonna start off with that kiss. My man didn't receive back to that kiss. He got kissed. Was like, yo, what is this, bro? Like, dog, what you kissing me for? B, are you dead? Fact. I guess I got to drag your ass back to the place now. Hey, can we get a medic? I mean, but like, crazy. So Finn didn't seem to recept.
Hey, hold on real quick, because if we moving on the Finn, there's something I have been trying to say about the Kylo Ren and Rey thing.
Oh, say something about the Kylo Ren and Rey thing before we.
I actually had one final thought on that too, but.
Well, then you had 50, man. Just my standpoint on it. Like, okay, I went in on the Last Jedi with a couple of cards on the table and a couple of different variables. I was willing to take certain things. If Rey's gonna be a nobody, if her parents are gonna be a nobody, I mean, I was expecting like, okay, at the very least, she needed to get bodied by Kylo Ren. I think she can't just be a nobody and still be like the Gohan of Star Wars. I was thinking like, but then it's this whole thing of purposely trying to avoid being too much like Empire Strikes Back. I think Rey needed to get bodied in this movie. It was like just to balance something out. I mean, she whooped Kylo the first time. But, you can throw that away by saying, like, well, he was injured or all that. They had the variables in there to protect him and all that. And it's like, okay, I was figured there has to be some kind of receipt at the very least. And then that didn't happen. And if they do fight again, first of all, building this off them fighting each other multiple times. And when Rey does beat him, if it comes down to a final confrontation, she's just going to be 2-0. And it would never really feel like anything, So it's like right. I think some part of me could have let all that go if this would have been her, not necessarily get her hand cut off, because then it'd be too much like it. But it's like she needed to see some kind of actual defeat, because I think the only type of defeat Rey sees is watching other people die, and it's like, yeah, I know it hurts you and all, but they the one that died.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also think that the dynamic between those two could have been so much better handled if they had taken for lack of a better word, the whole Goku Vegeta thing. I mean, right down to the fact that, I'm not trying to be too on the nose, but I mean, like when you get right down to it, Kylo Ren, someone from an elite bloodline who, is the prince of a dead world and all that crap.
Oh, you calling this man Vegeta?
Oh no, I mean the whole thing where I think I'm better than you because I'm someone important. You're someone who's a nobody. You're trash. You're worthless. But I can make you more than trash. Like if that had been something that they kind of explored. Like he had a genuinely low opinion of her, but he couldn't deny her potential. Something like that.
Well, he also seemed like he knew who she was though too, because that whole force grab with the officer and the force.
Oh, I know. He hears girl, and he's like, "Wait a minute," and then it's like, "What girl?" But no, you're nobody. You're nobody. I don't even know who you are. But you seem strong. Come on, join me. We'll burn it all down and give some fangirls some wet dreams. Let's go. Like that whole thing is just so weird. But yeah, Finn really got shafted in this movie. I'll tell you that.
Man only had 3 lines.
Non-existent. Like I talked to a lot of people, and they were perfectly fine if he was going to end up dying at that moment.
No, that was the worst part about it, man. He didn't do much. So when he was, man,
and I'm like, all that stuff. Just
he couldn't live and he couldn't die. So
the thing that irks me is the whole Phasma thing, and just everything he did in that movie seemed like it was all just set up to have that.
You're worse than scum.
Yeah,
scum.
Oh God,
bro, I was so close to almost walking out right there.
It was way too short based on the way they were hyping it up too, like in the ads and everything. I expected that to be a more drawn out fight, especially since Finn is not a slouch. per se in hand-to-hand combat, but Phasma is implied to be, you know, lethal in it. And it's like you read the books and everything and how and the comic and you see how much of a survivor that woman is. I was expecting a knockdown, drag out, really intense fight there.
Yeah.
And it was like
Phasma is a Mortal Kombat character.
Well, I have a feeling that what they're probably going to wind up doing is turning her into a meme, because it's like, on the one hand, the only way you could really give her character, do her character justice in another movie is to have her survive that too. But it's like, even then, if she does survive and do something really significant in the next movie and really cool, it's like it won't matter because she's a meme at that point. You know, why won't the whole "why won't you die" meme? So they'd have to color that in a way that's like definitive and there's no ambiguity, which they could do. You know, I honestly wouldn't mind seeing it. I really would not. That would, especially the way JJ did The Force Awakens. I think he could actually pull that off really well. But you know, the internet would like have a field day with that, and I don't know if they want to, because it's in a way that it's like her dignity's gone no matter what you do. So you might as well give her like a cool, exit, I guess.
Unless she literally comes in and like kills Kylo Ren at the last minute and becomes the big bad at like the last 30 minutes of
it. I don't even need her to kill Kylo Ren. I just need her to show back up and decide that she ain't done with Finn yet or something. And then
please don't bring her back. Please.
Oh, nah. I want to see something, man.
Hey, Chris, she gonna come back like.
Oh no! Don't you dare say that.
Like the fraction, but Kyle kept coming back throughout the game.
I'm back.
and then literally come get her head busted and then quote unquote die again.
Oh my God.
Dude, I just don't want her to come back because.
Well, I like realistically, I know
they done turned her into Kenny, man. To be honest,
but,
basically,
that's what Ryan Johnson called her.
Are you serious?
Dude, I read an article. I think it was from EW that Ryan Johnson says Phasma is like the Kenny of the Star Wars.
Oh my God,
it's true though.
Now he said that in a joke. He said, "So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess she could come back." He said it's really up to JJ.
Where did they find this dude?
When they asked him about Rey's parents, he said, "Well, I believe that's certainly what Kylo believes he sees in her. Rey also, to a certain extent, also believes that." He says, "Now, however, and that she could still be related to somebody, but Kylo says in that moment what he believes, and he says, and also you should keep in mind that Kylo says that while he's been trying to very much manipulate her to coming to join his side."
Oh my God!
Man, don't act like you ain't just killed Star Wars, bro. Don't act like you didn't just do it. You up there, you playing OJ, and Star Wars is the victim right now.
That to me sounds like somebody's just kind of admitting there's backlash and saying, "Well, we could potentially undo this, and you know, you can be happy."
Well, I mean,
it's
not true. I think it's the fact that like. To be crude about it, I'd say I think it's the fact that, like, well, I mean, you see what I did with The Last Jedi, and you see how I took these really open-ended things and either made them closed or seem closed based off how you look at it. So I mean, I don't know, open these things back up. It's just all about how you write it. And
you know what, man, and this is my little conspiracy theory. There's absolutely nothing backing this. This is me just throwing it out there and just going off the vibe I get from him. I believe Ryan Johnson went into business for himself. He murdered this trilogy all for the sake of having things open-ended for when he does his trilogy. It could just be about anything.
Oh, man. That's part of the reason why I think they kind of denied coming back or...
Like he could do any type of Jedi-like character because if you have insert time skip and now you know everybody can use the Force now, it could just be about anything, anybody.
Oh God, that honestly is like one of the biggest things that irked me too. Like he just invalidated every single bit of training everyone ever did because it's like, you know, the darkness rises and the light to meet it. So basically, like the reason Rey didn't need like any extra training and she was matching up with him is because the light yearns to be balanced, you know, and so
I mean, unless she was created through midichlorians and she's a virgin birth.
I don't think so. Just I don't think they're gonna recycle that, dude. And I'm agreeing with that. If they recycle
then I'd be really mad. But what I'm saying is that like that would be a way to make that make sense.
But like I think that's really just a way for him to be able to do whatever he wants to do in his trilogy, because now it also sets things up to basically you don't have to have trilogies anymore. Every movie can be self-contained. What's that? Really powerful dark side user? Well, the light chooses you. It's your turn to be the chosen one. Stand up, go fight, and make us money. Like
oh God, he didn't turn this into a damn anthology series.
He turned this into like Naruto, man.
Basically.
Oh my God, this is Star Wars Shippuden. Y'all get ready.
Don't say that, because Naruto also, besides Naruto having its own decline in how good it was, we had Boruto. So please, put some
What?
This man just went off.
Maybe they should get Ryan Johnson to direct a hipster Naruto movie next.
Hey, I'd watch that.
Shit, can I buy tickets now?
Let's pre-order the tickets like Battlefront. There we go.
I mean, look, I'm not even saying this. I'm not even saying that necessarily in a disparaging way. But Ryan is a little bit of a hipster, even if he's not like the stereotypical one. Just in the way he views certain things.
You see it in his face.
It's why he likes being so subversive and stuff that he writes and directs.
I mean, I love Looper, but that right there, yep, everything you just said,
bro. The quote a very famous meme.
Yo, you want to talk about subversive? That kid in Looper, his freaking wrong,
Hey, you talking about when he fell out of the stairs?
Yeah.
And he went to the Phoenix mode and killed everybody in the house.
Yep. Anything but subversive.
Hey, that little boy had the scariest look on his face. Man. I'll never forget how many times we watched that video. Like that kid's face kills me.
Yo, just falling down the stairs, man.
I mean, that's what happens when you have a little boy that's crazy psychic powers. He fell down the stairs, got so mad about it, he killed everybody in the house.
Damn, that's
yo. Some of these photos, just type in Looper kid. I'm weak.
I feel like that has to just include a bunch of pictures of like some loopy looking kid, and I'm just like, well,
you got to like Google Looper kid. Y'all will not be disappointed.
Yo, that kid face is burned in my skull.
Man. Oh, man. Okay.
Adam. I'm gonna send you this right now. You can see it for yourself.
All right.
That kid had more darkness than Kylo Ren and Snoke come out of him falling down the stairs.
Bro, that shit hurts my soul to see that. I'm actually wow. So that's what Luke saw. That's what made him decide to wow.
Yeah.
You know what? Suddenly I'm okay with it too. There you go.
You see? Thank you. And that there is the perfect segue into our outro.
Anything to prevent me ever having to see that face again.
Well, Chris, before we outro real quick, I just got one thing I want to say about The Last Jedi. One last thing that I want to say before we leave, if that's okay.
Okay. All right, go for it.
I want to say something that upsets me about The Last Jedi is this is my own theory about this, and so it's not based on much fact. But what I believe is that they were originally writing all these films, and I wonder if JJ will take this route, because even though Lucasfilm said they won't do anything with Carrie Fisher for Episode 9, I highly believe that what they originally intended was that Luke was that first, his father, Han, couldn't redeem him. Luke, his uncle, and the man who redeemed Darth Vader couldn't redeem him. But however, Leia would have been able to redeem Kylo. I think that's what they were planning on going with. Because it would have been the trifecta of the three people trying to redeem him, but however, nothing would be as powerful as a mother's love to bring her son back. Based off the fact, too, that Kylo couldn't kill her in this film, since this film wasn't edited to make any changes in the sense of Carrie Fisher's death, right?
No, it just made her Mary Poppins.
Right. Okay. Hey, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
She wasn't even the best Mary Poppins that year. Let's be
real. Oh man.
So I just have this feeling that
Carrie Fisher's death, and I'll be interested to see this going down the line later when we get like books about the making of this trilogy. Carrie Fisher's death, I think, is going to be the biggest impact to this trilogy in terms of how well the storytelling would have been and how it would have gone. I do think The Last Jedi does make it very difficult, and I still kind of feel that way, and I still don't really like the film. But I think that's the case, and I think the thing that sucks is that I personally believe that they will go back on what they said, and they will CGI Carrie Fisher for some very small things. And I'm not saying I agree with that, or I'm not saying I want that to happen, but I feel like they may go that route. However, if they don't, I'll be very curious to see how JJ decides to make this work. Because if Rey redeems Kylo, that may be kind of weird. And also, I feel like you said, Rob, Rey has not lost to Kylo yet. So in my opinion, that means that the episode 9 has to end with them actually really losing. All of them. Or with them losing in the fact that Rey wins in the sense of like she dies, but somehow I don't know. Frick.
You know what?
Man.
Fair enough.
After what they did with Yoda, I'll say this. After what they did with Yoda, so long as they have Luke come back as a Force ghost and I don't know, blow some shit up, I'll be okay.
I'm not even happy with that. I would have rather Luke.
I'd rather he did it alive, but you know what? He can't do it alive now. So give me that. Damn it, I've been waiting for that.
And that Yoda scene was lit, though. No pun intended.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see him.
Puppet
again.
Yoda.
The only thing that kind of got me was I don't like him acting in his crazy form. You know, it was supposed to be something that messed with Luke's head, but I was waiting for R2 to come up so he could start beating him with his cane again. Just what the frick?
That'd be nice.
But it was cool to see him though. I ain't gonna front about
that was cool, but it's like seeing him call down that lightning bolt and everything. It's like, okay, you know what? Give that to Luke. Let Luke do that. Let him take out the entire garrison at some First Order place for them. I don't care.
If it's like that, why didn't?
Okay, no. You know what? I will not be denied this. I waited like decades to see Luke be able to do that kind of thing on screen. You will give me that. You will not give me Darth Vader crushing an AT-AT that was about to step on him, and not give me Luke doing something.
Well, like I said, wait for the cartoon series because I'm
not going to wait for a cartoon series because
I'm pretty positive. Like I would bet a lot of money.
Wait. No. Hold. Pause for a second. Danny, how are you over here saying no? I don't want to wait for a cartoon series. Yet every single time I asked for something in Star Wars movies, you said, watch the freaking Clone Wars. What do you got to say about that? No.
Dude, I told you that the entire purpose of the Clone Wars was to make
No, don't you dare start.
I did?
Okay, we're not going to get into this. It's past 1 a.m. It is now Christmas over here in both territories.
Merry Christmas.
We're going to end off. We're going to end off this episode. It's a crazy episode, 3-hour episode. I remember this was originally going to be 90 minutes, but
let's keep
Mr. Hour and change.
Really
yup. I thought it was going to be just a short episode, but the second this man started talking about Star Wars, I knew it. I just knew it.
As soon as they started arguing, I went ahead and started installing games, man.
Yup, bro. I reinstalled GTA 5.
We need to just like do an episode. Me and Adam argue about Star Wars while you and Rob make fun of us in the chat.
No, we'll probably just be in the background. Webcams on, just playing some PS4. Probably play GTA on a separate stream. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, bet I might have to hop
speaking of which, Rob, you got to get that GTA 5, bro.
Man, it's on my list. I'm working my way around, man.
Copy. Well, I mean, Witcher 3, you'll be satisfied with that for months.
I got a feeling, man.
Best game, man. It's the best game in the past 10 years.
I'm about to jump on
all
that
I
in a
can
little
say is right now I'm at a state where I loved Star Wars. I was upset with Star Wars. I loved it again. I'm upset with it again. I really hope episode 9 can make me love it again. But honestly,
damn roller coaster.
Hey, bro.
I really don't have any interest in anymore.
Yeah, I mean, at all, man.
Hey, man, look, it's following the prequel trilogy model. Episode 1, Not
the
the
prequel
best,
trilogy
but not
model
the
is not the
worst.
model you want to follow.
Man, the ferocity.
Episode 2 is the worst from the trilogy. I won't repeat that for a third time. Episode 2 is the worst from the trilogy. I hope I triggered some people. Episode 3, best from the trilogy. Okay, so said my piece.
Episode 3 was lit compared to this.
Yeah, but see, I don't want to see a cartoon though about Luke
Bro.
falling or failing.
True.
No.
Well, who's to say it's about him failing? The thing is, he isn't failing. What's happening is it's a story about Luke building up the Jedi Temple, right? And on top of that, what's happening is Luke is also though slowly not succumbing to anything, but he's having these influences coming from the dark side that causes
even if for a moment he succumbs to it. I don't.
He's not going to succumb to darkness.
All right. We can save this for another Star Wars discussion because
yeah, that's right. Hey, let's get out this mess, y'all. Hey, enjoy y'all Christmas. Y'all people have a good time. You know what I mean?
Too,
I mean, all that, get your layups, get your buckets, do what you got to do, man. It's Christmas, baby. Come on.
Don't step in any reindeer dung, etc.
Yeah. Facts. All the good stuff. I hope y'all have a great new year, and we will be back. Who knows? Maybe next week, because I just realized we did not finish off the actual Q&A portion of this special, which is
Hey, I'm down. It's another holiday. So,
hey, you don't get buckets. I'm all about.
I am open this weekend, so if we want to do a Q&A stream before New Year's, I'm good.
I'm down. I mean, it has to be next Sunday because my schedule.
Yeah, let me know because I may have some New Year's plans, but I'm about getting buckets.
Yeah, I would say we all stream and then do the countdown, but Chris will be next year for a whole hour.
Yeah, Chris got here chilling I'm in 2018 and y'all guys have missed everything. So many new things.
I'm so far in the future.
Right. Chris gonna be running around in his purple Capsule Corp jacket.
Call his name Doc. But then in our timeline, the jacket won't be purple; it will be blue.
Chris gonna be like, it's 2018 and the DCEU still sucks.
Hey, bro, that's got to be your first tweet, bro. The first tweet of the new year. It's got to be you that says it
right away, Chris.
Yo. I'm from the future. I'm here to warn you. It still sucks. Go back.
DC is not the key. Don't watch it.
That is definitely going to be my first tweet. I've come from the future.
No, you won't Photoshop your face over Ezra Miller's though from the BGS.
Oh my god!
Does he got a pencil on the little pedo stash though?
Oh jeez.
Oh man.
Why do I feel like I'm obligated to actually do that?
Because don't be coming for you, bro.
Be like, it's the solo films. The solo films are the key. Am I too late? I'm too late.
I'm just gonna leave the idea here and hope when it comes time for the reboot, you could just okay, I'm just gonna go back.
We gotta tweet that. That is definitely gonna be the first tweet of the year.
Oh, that's gonna be funny.
Am I too late? Too late! You were right about them. No. In this case, it'd be like, I was right about them. I was always right about the solo film.
At Warner Brothers Entertainment.
No, for real.
Rolls around. There's Chris already standing there, long beard. Go back. It got worse.
Or like first thing you yo,
go back. It got worse.
I never would have thought Marvel would actually own the rights to DC movies. That's crazy.
Oh my god. What is going on?
Give Superman to Marvel, man. That's all I gotta say.
Hey,
shout out
to
Disney buying Warner Brothers.
Photoshop poster of Avengers 5 and Superman is just subtly in the group.
He's in the group, bro. He's in the epic group shot.
Is he with you guys?
Yeah, bro, I thought he just up there floating.
No. You know what? Just to really rub salt in the wound, he needs to be completely CGI Cavill the whole movie just so they can show them how it's done.
Oh my god,
bro! I still don't know why they got that so bad.
$300 million.
Like I said, they borrowed the software they used to animate Reboot.
Bro, he was 25% Bob, bro.
I talked to the guy who did the storyboards for the reshoots, and he was like, "Yeah, Paramount wasn't having that about letting him shave." So he said, "Yeah, they just didn't have enough money to do what they wanted to do."
They stood their ground.
Not even that. They just didn't have time. Like,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Paramount is funny though for that. That's the funniest thing, dude. Imagine being a big budget company, knowing like another film company's like, oh, their tentpole film is Justice League, and you go, oh, you need to have him shave, huh?
oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
Bro,
right.
you know what they did? You know what I just realized? Paramount, they pulled the Civil War. They planted themselves in the ground and they said, no, you CGI that mustache.
Yeah, bro. They straight up flexed on a Justice League movie.
Dude.
Now Mission Impossible 6 probably ain't gonna do nothing.
Dude, they flexed
But
Yo,
on
that
still,
movie,
they held their
Mission
ground.
Impossible 5 was lit. Mission
Dude,
Impossible 5, I think, grossed more than Justice League. Let me see.
Oh man,
Dude, they flexed on Justice League so hard. They told Warner Brothers, "Hey, y'all cancel." this
Hey,
film
you
like
wanna
2 or
know
3
something
times
funny?
For what hurts?
What happened? So what?
You know who saved Mission Impossible with the third movie?
Christopher McQuarrie.
With
No,
the
wait,
third
J.J.
movie?
Abrams.
JJ, yeah, that's
There
what
you go.
JJ.
There you go. There you go. It's just
Yo, bro. You want to know why? You want to know why Paramount ain't got nothing to worry about? Mission Impossible, 682 million.
Oh my god. Oh
It
my
grossed more
god.
than Justice League.
I mean, JJ saved the Mission Impossible series after it had its terrible second movie.
Oh my god, that's so true.
Oh,
Yeah,
yo,
this is just insane.
yo, that second movie was like Ethan
It's
I
in
have
all
the
seen the
Matrix, bro.
same eyes in many people before. You're the eyes of a
would-
man that will save the third act of a trilogy.
Man, how does Hollywood have a better cinematic universe than DC?
Bro, everybody do. Everybody
My
does.
filmography that I
Bro, this
have
about to be a Lego
universe.
cinematic universe, bro.
Dude.
Bro, Chris's YouTube channel is a better cinematic universe than it. Bro,
Bro,
this man
the-
pulled back
all-
out an anime game collection video. When the last
Continuity.
time you did that shit, bro?
The fact that we all got YouTube channels and we came together doing this is better than the DCU.
Oh, great!
Oh
Now, we gotta make a trailer out of it.
We should. We can. Yo, all right. So I want to end this live stream like I always do. Want to thank my co-host for another great session. Keep your teeth white. Make sure you floss as well.
Yeah, because y'all motherfuckers brush them teeth. I'm telling you.
Exactly. And
halitosis is a thing. Y'all got it.
facts. And yeah, I never thought I'd see the day where this man Danny would be praising J.J. Abrams so much. It's just it's so weird.
He still needs to learn to cut down on the lens flares,
development.
Man, so-
Yo, well, I'm still kind of worried about episode 9, considering Chris Terrio is writing that, and he.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Chris Terrio, when he doesn't have Warner Brothers breathing down his neck, I mean, he did write Argo. So.
Yeah, but that's one movie.
man,
Yeah, but it was a great movie, and it was like
It was, but
We'll see.
Man.
I mean, JJ's co-writing it too, so
Hey.
we'll see.
hey, real quick, I know Adam's gonna appreciate this. Can we just acknowledge the fact that JJ threw up the perfect NBA Street Volume 2 alley-oop, and this man Ryan Johnson went and goaltended his own parking shot.
Come, you done now? You done? Oh,
This fool, how do you goaltend somebody
Kill
on
me.
your team, bro?
kill me right now.
bro,
Kill
bro,
me.
how
It's done.
do you
It's
unlock
done.
Michael Jordan 95, 96 bowls in NBA Street Volume 2, and you can't hit the game winner?
Bruh,
Ryan
you got
it's
the
like-
oop.
Yo,
He threw the
God.
oop and he just spiked it on the ground.
Dog,
saving this.
he took all your street points and then turned it into nothing and said, "What? What
Bruh.
would you expect?"
He did the impossible.
It's not
This
my
fool-
fault. It's all your expectations of me making that shot. It's your own fault.
Yeah, oh,
Wait. So as far as
Come
we're
on,
concerned, y'all now, Danny said it's not my fault, which means Danny in this situation's Ryan. This makes sense now. Plot twist.
Alrighty. Before we
Oh,
create
man.
another movie in this cinematic universe, we will catch y'all later. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We might be back next Sunday for another episode, depending on
DC,
things.
call me. I'll fix your movies.
Do it right there. Danny still has to make the standalone video.
I gave them a better Batman setup than they had. So
You
Yeah,
have
for
to
real,
record
you
that
did.
standalone
Yeah,
video.
you got-
have to record
you got to
it.
record that, get that documented, dude.
Especially now, since people are kind of looking towards the future, like what's happening. You have to do it. Okay? All right. Danny will do that. Anyways. Bye. Bye.
homework. Bye.
Peace out.
Peace.
May the force be.
Adios.
I mean, sorry, I've said it too much. May the force be with you. You say it. I can't say it this time.
Man,
All right, I'll say it.
the
I'll
Force
say it.
in the
I'll say,
hospital
I'll
right
say
now.
it. I got it. Okay, listen. I'll take us home. And Yoda is definitely Sith.